Silly, that's 4 guys that don't come out of their corner in a row. What's your new nickname?
Maybe I change my second name. Maybe I change, and now my name is No Maschenko. All right.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 255th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. We have a full house this evening. Rob Kelly's on the call, so is Ozzy, Gabe Lewis, Andy Patterson, Donny, Dave the Hater Lowback, and Adam Smith. Let's get straight on with it, guys. We're probably going to be assaulting your ear holes for about 2 to 2.5 hours tonight. It's quite a big one. We're trying desperately to get a returning favourite on the pod, Kurt K9 Ward. Unfortunately, we're not managing it at the moment. Let's get on with the action, though, shall we, as I bring it up on my laptop. VASYL Lomachenko against Guillermo Rigondeaux over in New York. What can you say about this one? It's a quit. There's no two ways about it. I'm really disappointed, to be honest. I thought Mr. Rigondeaux was going to rise to the occasion against adversity. He's faced adversity in the past, to be honest with you, but that was getting in the face of getting knocked down. Rob Kelly, we asked the question last week, what would Rigo do whenever he got sent into this dark place? Whenever he came up against a guy who was bigger, who had a lot of technical ability, how would Rigo respond? I thought he was going to reach within himself and come out and have a right good go. Unfortunately, Rob, he just didn't, and I'm really disappointed, and I know you are as well.
You're on mute, Rob.
He's that disappointed we can't seem to hear him. Go ahead, Donny, while we're trying to get Rob on at the moment. What do you think about this, about Mr. Rigondeaux going into this dark place?
Well, Rigo talked a great game on the way to this fight. He said that he'd been shunned by everybody, ducked by everybody, denied by everybody, screwed over by the Cuban government, screwed over by promoters like Bob Arum, who even when he put on a masterclass performance against Don Air, instead of lauding that performance, actually, said that he stunk out the joint and he was boring or whatever, and rather than promoting his fighter, Arum really kicked him to the curb. And I was hoping very much to see Rigo basically give the entire boxing world the middle finger. I was hoping that he was going to give them all their comeuppance. I thought that he was going to go for it, and I thought he was going to lay it all out on the line, and I thought he was going to basically say that all the people who had doubted him and all the people who had tried to minimize his presence in the sport, I thought he was going to tell those people all where to go. I really did, and I believed in him. And I thought that he could force Lomachenko to basically to fight his fight because he is a defensive master. There's no doubt about it. But it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. And then and when it didn't happen, and when things didn't go the way he wanted to go, the way he wanted them to go, he quit. And that, guys have fought with broken hands before. Gotti fought with a broken hand against Ward and beat him in the rematch, of Gotti Ward 2. Many fighters have fought with broken hands before. And also I have serious doubts as to whether that hand was actually broken, because I think that it was Pedro Diaz in the corner who was trying to save him from himself because he wanted to quit. And at first they were looking at the right glove when they were talking about, you got a hand injury or whatever. But then yet the glove they pulled off first to examine for the injury was the left glove. It reeks of quit.
Yeah, you've got a hand injury, haven't you, Guillermo?
Yeah, oh yeah. Honestly, it was really sad to see. And I'm not saying that Rigo got a fair and square deal, because really this fight should have happened 2 years ago, and it should have happened at 126, and it should have happened then. And I'm not trying to make any excuses for him, because at the end of the day, that's a cardinal sin. You don't quit. And he did, and it's a shame. And it was set. Honestly, he was playing against a stacked deck. It was set up for him to lose, but at the same time, he could have lost honorably. But instead, he chose to lose dishonorably. I'm very disappointed.
Gabe, I think Donnie makes some good points there. There are different levels of quit. That's why the likes of O'Hara Davis, when he effectively quit against Josh Taylor, it pissed me off a little bit, because the first sign of adversity in a career that has gone his own way all along has all of a sudden caused him to quit. It's almost the same as Rigondo, like I said at the top of the show. Whenever Angulo quit against Erislandy Lara, I sort of let him off. Whenever Matisse quit against Postol, I sort of let him off. If you've got a bit of currency in the bank as a warrior in the past or whatever, then you can sort of see what's happening. Like if Gatti was to quit or something, you know that it would be the ultimate last resort. This is the first time that Rigondo, anything's really gone against him, apart from obviously knockdowns against guys he was completely superior to. I mean, is this Rigo finish now at the top level, Gabe? We've given him excuses in the past. There's been promotional issues, the escape from Cuba, not performing at the top level because he's too good. But this time, Gabe, it's just unacceptable.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I'm like Donnie. I mean, you guys know as well as anyone that I was on this guy's wagon for ages before the Rigondeaux win, before this fight ever was even a notion of possibly happening. And I think something Donnie said was pretty true for me. He did give the middle finger to boxing, just in a completely different way than Donnie and I both thought he would. I really thought he was going to do the same things as Donnie was saying. He was going to really make a show of it and really going to demonstrate just how much guts he had, just how much disdain for boxing that he had because of the way he'd been treated. And for someone to quit like that, I think you're 100% correct. You know, a warrior like we think of with Siri Salido or Arturo Gatti or, you know, insert name, is not built in a day. It's something that you see over time where these guys constantly dig down and consistently bring themselves up out of the depths of despair and out of the depths of defeat, and they find a way to come back and make fights happen for them. They find a way to win, and even if they don't win, they account themselves so heroically and bravely that it's phenomenal to see. Rigondeaux had moments in the past where he'd been down, but if you go watch any of those fights where he was knocked down, it was never, ever, ever a case where, you know, I look back at it and think, oh no, this is getting out of hand. Oh no, things are going poorly, because he dominated. He dominated everyone. He beat everyone to the point that even a knockdown wasn't viewed as, oh shit, this is the end of the fight. It was like, well, let's see what happens next. There was always that point where he was in such firm control. All he had to do was give himself a little bit of time and get back into it. So I think you're 100% correct in the fact that he doesn't get a pass because he hasn't shown the testicular fortitude that other people have. He hasn't shown the desire and ability to dig into that dark place like myself and Donnie and probably many other people thought he would.
Well, I'll just throw this out there. I'm sorry. I'll let it go to other people, but he did actually show some real guts against Amagasa. I mean, that guy may have been 126, that Japanese guy, Amagasa, but I mean, that guy was a giant. He was huge for the weight, and Rigo, I think, got knocked down twice, but came back to win that decision. I thought he had a lot of heart there, and that's why I actually predicted that even if he did, you know, even if the size was a factor, he would come back from that, and he would, you know, give it his all last night, and that's why I believed in him, because of what I saw in the Amagasa fight.
But I still don't think it was a comeback win. He never lost control except for that really brief bit of time whenever he was hurt. And that aside, even myself going back and watching the fight, it wasn't ever a point of, oh dear, the fight's gonna go poorly now. It was, okay, he got knocked down. We've seen this before where he gets knocked down. I don't think it was anything digging down anything. He felt in his guts that he had such control in those fights where he was knocked down that even he wasn't worried. And I think that translates a lot of times whenever, at least for me, whenever I was watching those fights. So So, my whole thing was thinking last night that he looked like a technical machine. A machine's made to do a certain task. Task wasn't going his way. He just bitched out.
Yeah, I agree with Gabe, actually, in response to Donny's point there. Against the likes of Amagasa, he knew he was always in control, whereas against Lomachenko, he wasn't in control, and he knew that he wasn't going to get in any more control as the fight went along. He just knew he was in with this superior, I think, in most avenues. Rob, we brought you in at the beginning of the show. Different fighters react to adversity in different ways, but Rigo, he didn't show any overt distress signals that I could see leading up to the end of the fight. Nobody wants big fights to end that way, but I suppose the truth is, for better or for worse, the hand injury, it's a smokescreen. Rigondeaux, he couldn't cope with the size, he couldn't cope with the speed, the diversity of attacks, the physical strength, and he found a way out, just like Nicholas Walters did.
Yeah, I think so. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, perfectly.
Perfect. Okay, cool. No, I think to say that he hasn't shown balls in fights before this is a bit of a stretch. And I think the way he's reacted when he's been knocked down before says a lot about him at that time, because when he got knocked down against Amagasa, he got up in the next round and tried to stop the guy. And I think did they stop that with a broken jaw, or he won the decision? But against Donaire, when he got dropped he spent the next round trying to knock Donaire out, and Donaire got that eye injury and didn't want to throw away from him. So I'm not really having that he hasn't got balls. But last night, we said about it last week. I was saying during the week, maybe in the chat, like maybe he can do it. And we said, if he can do it, he's going to be vindicated. Well, now all his detractors are vindicated because they get to see him go out like that. In the fight, I think he was just out things that he normally does. Rigondeaux uses all the tricks in the book as well as being skillful. He holds you behind the back of the head and uppercut you. He can do all that. But he was trying to put his hand on the back of Lomachenko's head and pull him down to hit him last night. It wasn't working. Lomachenko was just too cute, too young, and probably a level above skill to even Rigondeaux. But Rigondeaux at 37, going up 2 weight classes for a fella that walks around at 120, it was just too big of an ask. And I think it was a kind of a Gerano mask last night where he's just like, I can't do anything with this guy. Get me out of here. Like, I can't. You know what I mean? And other fighters have felt that too. So, but with Rigondeaux, with who he is, with the backstory, with half of the boxing community pulling against him, with the other ones rooting for him, you can see now they're all vindicated. You can see Steve Kim and all them making the raft jokes and all that. Like, he's giving it to them on a plate, hasn't he, to say it about him that he's quit. So there's no real defense when fighters quit. Whether we root for him or we don't, we always criticize him for not. He could have finished the fight. Like, he wasn't in any danger of being knocked out. I think he'd been hurt in that previous round. He's good at masking when he gets hurt, but definitely a couple of those shots from Lomachenko caught his attention. I thought he had a good first round, but apart from that, that was it. And that's kind of what we expected. And I said last week I thought Lomachenko would be looking to stop him, but I didn't think he'd do it like that. Like, team no mass.
Yeah, I agree with Rob. He did have a good first round. I gave him the first round, and he won the first round on a couple of the judges' scorecards. Steve Weisfeld gave every round to Lomachenko. Smido, we've talked a lot about Rigondeaux. Let's look at Mr. Lomachenko, the Ukrainian himself. He has a bit of an edge to him, I think. That's the nicest way to put it. He isn't afraid to put in the head, drop in an elbow, complain to the ref, a little cheeky shot after the bell. I think it was in round 4 or 5. Is this ultimate competitiveness, or is it something the referee should be putting a little bit more pressure on him for, these indiscretions?
I think it was coming both ways last night, Steve, to be honest. If you've got a tough fight where both fighters are trying to get away with a thing or two, then I think that's fair enough. If it's one-way traffic, then obviously, the ref needs to do something about it. But Rigo was definitely holding in his kind of discreet and experienced manner. Lomachenko was doing that pull away with both arms to really exaggerate it to the ref. The Box Nation feed was certainly mentioning that Lomachenko did that action where he was pulling away both arms in the dressing room with the referee. So it's something obviously that they were concerned about going in. They spoke to the ref about it, and he obviously said, yeah, you can do that, fair enough. And that's what they did. There was a little tap after the bell. But yeah, I think Lomachenko has got a bit of attitude to go with it. But it was just, Rigondeaux's quit, and that's what it was. Is going to detract really from another superior Lomachenko performance. Just the variety, the footwork, just the anticipation, the movement is like nothing I've never ever seen before. And I've said that before last night, and I'll probably say it again. on Rigondo, it just wasn't big enough, was he, really? And obviously we knew that beforehand was going to be an issue. But the best thing about the weight and size issue, the best thing about it was Lomachenko said after the fight, he don't class it as a big win because of the weight difference.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Yeah, good point.
And I thought fair play to that. He's learning English. He's learning it quicker than other stars, particularly Canelo springs to mind, who's still not really got onto the English game. He's a likeable fella in Lomachenko. Fights reasonably regular. Highlight reel kind of guy. And yeah, it's going to detract away from his performance, but Rigondo's whole professional career has been a car crash, really, and he's been at the steering wheel for a lot of the car crash. When he's had the opportunity, although they have been rare, when he's had the opportunity, he's not grasped them with both hands. He's obviously shit the bed real bad last night. There was that 10-rounder, I think, on one of the good undercards. I think in his last fight, ended up boring the place out. And he obviously hasn't really adapted to the English language either. He has had a massive problem with people not fighting him, but I think you need to at some point lower your demands, and maybe his demands have been too high in previous years, and he's just not got the fights. He's had to go to Japan. I think he fought Jazza Dickens in Belfast or Liverpool or somewhere like that. His whole career has been a car crash. It's a real shame. Massive talent, one of the most talented boxers of all time. You've got to say that, and he's not fulfilled it at all. It's just another Cuban mess to me. It can't be a coincidence that over the last decade or so, all of these Cuban defectors in professional ranks have been terrible, really. I mean, like who's been good, really, Cuban wise? We've had people, Solis quitting.
You can't say he's terrible, Smitho. For fuck's sake, man, you can't say the man's terrible. Champion beats Donaire in the side.
From what he's only got one win. From what he's done, from what he possesses as a double Olympian, one of the most talented boxers of all time, which I'm admitting, to deliver what he's delivered in the professional game is no way near what he should have delivered. So what I'm saying is his career, other than the Donaire fight, has been terrible.
He's terrible, though, dude.
He's not terrible he's not terrible talent-wise, but he should have delivered so much more. He's now 37 years old, probably older. Where's he going to go? He's just into the wilderness now. He's not fulfilling what he wants to do. He's not fighting often enough. He's falling out with promoters. When he does get the opportunity, he's not taking them. He shit the bed last night. He had the biggest opportunity of his whole career last night, and he has shit the bed. He started quite well. He was working the body quite well in the first round, and I thought, oh, hey, we're on a good fight here, but. No, overall he has not delivered what he should have done.
Adam, I'm not gonna disagree with you and say that he shouldn't have quit. I'm not gonna defend anybody quitting, but to say that he isn't a good talent, I mean, actually,
he wasn't saying that. He wasn't saying that.
But listen to what I'm saying. He's one of the most talented boxers of all time. He's a double Olympic gold medalist, and what he has delivered from what he should have delivered when he turned pro, from what he should have delivered. He has delivered shit all.
For whatever the formal records are, but by all accounts, he was really kind of in his mid-30s when he even was able to get the hell out of Cuba in the first place. I mean, look, you can say whatever you want about his heart and him not quit. I mean, him quitting last night, and you know what, he deserves every slight against him, because I mean, when you go and you jump up and you take this fight, you say, I'm going to fight like this is everything to me, and then you turn in a performance like that, then he deserves to be slated for that. But I mean, you can't say that this guy wasn't an elite talent and that he only had one win against Donaire.
Yeah, but we should be saying that he's an elite fighter. He's an elite talent that's not delivered.
Hold on, Donny. Listen. Smitho, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think I know what you're saying here. It's born out of frustration, what you're saying. You think that Rigondeaux effectively should be on the sort of trajectory of his career that Lomachenko is on at the moment. He has, not a wasted talent, but is that what you're trying to get at?
Maybe terrible is the wrong word, but he's a complete waste.
I think terrible's the right word for what we've seen out of Cuba aside from Rigondeaux. Like Rigondeaux should have been better. I agree with Adam on that. He had that one great Donaire win, but he's the best Cuba's had to offer. I mean, what else is there? We got freaking PEDs, Ortiz. We got Gamboa going down the tubes fast, although he's had a few good moments. I mean, another guy who wasn't near what he should have been.
Solis is the one.
Solis, yeah, quit.
What about Jorge Luis Gonzalez? I thought Riddick blew.
Fernando Guerrero. I mean, no chin.
No, he wasn't. He was Dominican, wasn't he, Guerrero?
Yeah, he was, Steve. But you have to put some of this shit in context, though. I mean, first of all, it's not just. I mean, you don't need Customado to tell you that half of fighting is mental. And some of these guys come out of Cuba, and first of all, it usually takes them until they're at least 30 to get the hell out of there. And then when they finally fucking get out, I mean, they have no conception. I mean, I remember that Gary Hyde was on this podcast and told us that he said that the thing about Rigondeaux is that he signed more contracts than he did autographs, right? They don't understand any concept of capitalism, right? They're totally isolated from their families. And remember, once you get out of Cuba and you defect, you can't go back there. I think it's for 7 or 8 years or whatever. They're totally out there on an island. I mean, in terms of the continental United States, they can't go back to see any friends or family. If they do try to do that or whatever, they'll be imprisoned. I mean, it's very, very difficult for some of these guys coming over, and it doesn't mean that they're not elite talents, but you have to realize that fighters are people as well. And I mean, sometimes if they don't have that support system or whatever, they get totally screwed by promoters. Those people down in Florida, I can't think of what the hell their name is. Oh, Jesus. Caribe Promotions. Those people are criminals and should probably put in jail. And they basically sign contracts with these guys and take more over half their earnings. I mean, it's a very, very difficult situation for some.
Yeah, they get ransomed off.
They don't speak the language. I mean, you can shit on them and say, oh, well, Cuba hasn't produced anything and the amateur ranks are overrated. But we all know that that's untrue because most of the great top professionals like Floyd Mayweather and Andre Ward or whatever are the Olympians. Okay, the best Olympians are usually the best professionals. And to say that the Cubans are like somehow lacking in that regard or whatever is ridiculous. It's just that, I mean, they don't have the support system that a normal fighter would have.
Okay, right, let's move on, guys. Going to want to bring in some of the people who haven't spoken yet. Ozzy, just moving on to you. Looking at the fight from a technical point of view, Rigondeaux realistically was boxing, I thought, in survival mode from about the 3rd round onwards because Lomachenko knew very quickly which way Rigo was going to duck to, which way he was going to dip down. He kept dipping low to the same side every time. And Lomachenko, I thought he had a little luck in the 1st round. He feinted a little bit. He saw which way Rigondeaux was moving. He was deciphering where he was going to be. And then Lomachenko began throwing the shots into the gaps and he was anticipating where Rigondeaux was going to. That was the most technical thing I saw from the fight. He did his homework, basically, Ozzy. He formulated a plan and then he executed it from about the 2nd round onwards.
I completely agree. And to be honest, it wasn't to be unexpected. This guy is one of the best ever. And he made, at times, I thought Rigondeaux just looked like novice, maybe a bit extreme, but he just made him look bang average completely. I thought it was quite a difficult watch, to be honest. I thought it was a lot of holding and it made it awkward. But in terms of I thought the size played a bigger factor than I thought it would play. I thought when they were stood there getting the final instructions, I thought Lomachenko looked quite comfortably 3.5 weight divisions above him. And to an extent, I think obviously a lot's quite rightly being made of Rigondeaux quitting, but it's kind of taking a shine of how good Lomachenko was as well. That obviously a lot of people will remember this for Rigondeaux jacking it for he claims a broken hand, which I don't see how he's broken it because he didn't really throw a lot. Now it could well be true, but I just think he's thought, he's waved the white flag and given up. And in terms of Lomachenko, he's so good, so good, and I don't want to see him at 130 anymore. I genuinely don't see it, but what's the point? What is the point? He's too good for everybody at that. Let's see him go up to 135 now, and let's see him then go and get what he describes as a good win. He saw last night that wasn't because of the weight difference. Let's see him now challenge himself. Let's go and see him take on someone like Mikey Garcia, Jorge Linares. They are 2 excellent fights for him, and it's ones that I would love to see happen because they all bring different styles and elements. Particularly Garcia is one that I would love to see, and fingers crossed it would happen. It could happen next year.
Hey, to Dave. Ozzy's picked up on a couple of points I was going to ask you, actually. What's next for Lomachenko? Miguel Bichelt, I have a feeling, might be next in line, or perhaps maybe Jorge Linares. I wouldn't be averse to seeing either of those fights. But the one I would like to see is Mikey Garcia. What would you do, Dave, if you were Bob Arum climbing into the ring at 90 years of age?
I don't care what he wants to do. He's gonna want Bichelt, or he's gonna want Linares, because those are easier fights. Those are not much of a challenge. He'll probably want to call out Gervonta Davis as well, even though he won't have any intentions of making that fight because of who's with who and who promotes who and who answers to who and all that bullshit. Mikey Garcia is the only interesting fight for me at the moment, and it has been for months, and I'm still fucking pissed off about last night. For months ahead of time, Lomachenko and me both said this was a shit fight. He's too big. Rigo's too small and too old. It's officially 2 weight classes from where he's currently at, but it's basically 3 because Rigo was already fighting above where he ought to have been. And I know it's not like the same amount of weight as the higher weights, like Tony Bellew cutting 10 pounds nice and easy, but in terms of percentage of the body mass, it's like just as significant. So I knew that I basically expected it to go just as it did, except I didn't expect Rigo to quit. I don't think that really matters to me too much either way. I was never quite as high on Rigo as Rigo as some of you guys and some other hardcores. I was rooting for him, but I mean, he had no chance. And last night was just such a shit fest. Everybody's stock goes down. Boxing fans, I'm pissed at boxing fans for like getting all hyped about this crap and demanding it. I'm pissed at promotions for making it, and pissed at the networks for buying it, pissed at Rigo for quitting. The only one who doesn't go down for me is Lomachenko. You know, his stock doesn't go up for me because I think this win is meaningless. But I totally 100% agree with his comments before and after the fight. It was a pointless. And I'm grateful to him for saying it too, saying that this is not really a big win because it wasn't fair. And that no Moschenko line, that was pretty good, because there's no way he could have known that Rigo would throw in the towel. So when did he come up with that? I mean, was it on the spot? I mean, we know his grasp of English isn't great, so that was fairly impressive as far as linguistic skills. But this overall last night was a time waster. I stayed up. The card was shit too. We had 3 pointless garbage undercard fights, which were putrid to watch. They went on for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, just sitting around waiting for this main event to start. I fell asleep, woke up just as like the first bell was ringing, and then turned out to be a shit fest anyway. So it was just terrible. I won't really be interested in Lomachenko unless he's fighting Mikey Garcia, or Gervonta Davis would be okay, because he's got a belt. He's a young talent. He's physically something special. He's going to be a big kid. I think Loma would school him, but I still would like to see that fight. Plus, I wouldn't mind seeing Gervonta get schooled after he's been a little prick lately.
Would Garcia deal with Bob Arum again, though? That's the thing, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't care. That's the fight that needs to be made. So
he already ducked out of one of the biggest fights he had possibly offered to him. Cotto offered him a fight, and he ducked it down because he got more money for taking on whoever the fuck he's going to fight next. So I don't think that's even a realistic. I'm sorry to interrupt. You're not on the wrong track. I just don't see any possibility of that fight happening. He's already proven that he's all about money, and if that's the case, he's not going to get anything close to what he gets for taking the loss to Lomachenko, because that's what's going to fucking happen.
I don't think that's guaranteed. I think that's a good fight. I think that's competitive, and I think it's damn close to 50-50. I have to think about it more to make an accurate prediction, but whoever's to blame, I mean, that's who will get the most shit, but that's business, and I don't really care. Neither guy. I think Mikey Garcia has more valid options at the moment for me. If he could move up to 140, 147 and fight some reasonable opposition there. And I would classify that as, okay, that's a reasonable next step to your career. Lomachenko, I don't think he has that many acceptable options as far as I'm concerned. Mariaga, crap. Sosa, crap. I mean, they're not crap fighters, but compared to Lomachenko, I mean, it's pointless waste of time, and I don't want to see stuff like that at all.
Andy Patterson's on the call. Always good to have Andy with us. Okay, Andy, let me hit you with this one. It's December 2001. We're at £130, and Floyd Mayweather Jr. has just ended the year with wins. This happened over Diego Corrales, Carlos Hernandez, and Jesus Chavez. Floyd is big at the weight, and he's about to move up to lightweight to rob Jose Luis Castillo. Put that December 2001 version of Floyd against the exact version, December 2017 version of VASYL Lomachenko that we saw last night. What happens, Andy?
Oh man! See, to be honest, if I'm being brutally honest here, see Floyd back in that time, 130, 135. Floyd is an offensive machine. He was really, really good to watch at that time. Who wins? I really don't know. I'm going to say Floyd, just because Floyd's got the kind of resume and stuff like that, kind of back up all his claims and stuff. But there's absolutely no doubt about what Lomachenko's all about. I mean, I'll go back to what Smino says. Rigondo shat the bed there last night. I said it last week. You had to step up and make a fight out of that, and you never fucking done it. The first round was clearly it was a scouting mission for both parties. Rigo's trying to kind of land a straight left hand. If he's hurt his left hand, it must have been in the first round, because I've seen a couple of left hands kind of drop him low, running about the hip area. But I just think in the end, he's made the fourth guy in a row quit on his stool, or just basically bail from a fight. I'm not going to give him too many platitudes, because he was quite honest about the fight. It does nothing for him. The reason he gave him it was because, well, basically the guy was calling for it. Politically, there's obviously issues with the Garcia fight. Berchelt, I think, is now got a mandatory kind of like picking up as well. The IBF title's vacant. So unless he's going to be hanging about and kind of like making WBO title defences against the absolute trash that's coming up behind him there, if you look at those WBO rankings at 130 and that, they're absolutely awful. The move to 135 has got to happen. I agree with what everybody says. We want to see the Garcia fight next, or Linares, but ultimately, leaving Linares to decide how much is that Garcia fight really going to happen. I asked the question last night. Nobody knows. I know the fight's going to happen for some reason on Showtime. I say to the guys there as well, I read the report this morning there, it was 1.7 million people viewed that fight across all ESPN platforms. I don't know what Garcia's pulling in there at Showtime and stuff. I know, for example, Broner in his last fight pulled in something like 800, 900,000 viewers. So I don't know if Garcia's pulling in anything near that.
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, Lomachenko, he's making over $1 million there last night. Rigo made something like, what was it, 400,000? So you can imagine once all the sharks and he pays off his traffickers and stuff like that, he'll lucky go home with 10 fucking quid after that fight there last night. And having to go out like that as well, as actually, he's basically, I'm not going to say he's ruined his career as such, because a lot of people were going on there about Duran. I've seen a few Duran comments there last night and stuff like that. You need to bear in mind that Duran was an all-time great going into that no-mass fight. And he'd actually created a whole legacy and career for himself at lightweight before that, right? So his status was never in doubt. He just basically stripped away his reputation. And what happened was he spent 2 years trying to rebuild it, and he finally got there in the end. As for Rigo, he's got to do the same, and he has absolutely no chance. I mean, did you see him there last night? I couldn't believe how, if you look at like Lomachenko, or maybe Calzaghe against Kessler, for example. I'm just using these examples. You can see Floyd Mayweather through the years and that against fighters, against Cotto, against Castillo, and that he was kind of struggling at times against De La Hoya. He struggled at times, but he made adjustments. Rigo made absolutely zero adjustments to that there last night. As the guys were saying, is that he got frustrated, he started to hold. Lomachenko had obviously warned the referee, or he made a complaint to the referee pre-fight that says, look out for this guy's holding. They obviously kind of looked at it. As the guy, agree with what the guy says, is he actually kind of over embellished, the holding a wee bit Lomachenko. But you're in a fight, you've got to try and get the referee to kind of get on your side and try and break things up. Rigo was an absolute, he was an absolute disgrace last night. He did nothing that it was out of the ordinary. He did the exact same thing he did against even the C and D level operators that he's fought. He's dined out in that Donaire victory for far too long, for the last 3-4 years, whatever it was. He did absolutely nothing there last night. All he did was try to kind of like measure him up for the left hand, and when the left hand got taken away from him, if you look at Lomachenko, he was basically circling to his left and taking the left hand away from Rigo. And then when he started kind of like get the timing down, think about it. People say that Rigondo's a great defensive fighter. Yeah, there's fucking Lomachenko landing 3 rapid succession uppercuts against him. You don't fucking do that unless you're an absolutely special fighter. And that's what Lomachenko is. Everybody knows this. Right? But to shit the bed like that there last night, after all the shit that you spoke, And the audacity of some people out there to go on and say that Lomachenko ducked him at 126 is complete bullshit. Everybody knows this. He wanted a catch weight for a fight, Rigo, right? And that was proof there last night. It wouldn't have mattered what weight that fight took place at. Rigo was onto a schooling there. Now, I expected a kind of distance fight as well. I expected a wee bit more from Rigo, but it was clear, very clear for early doors in that. For like round 2, round 3 and that, you could just see him getting absolutely frustrated. He was holding. He was basically just being an absolute nuisance. And to be honest, I couldn't really give a shit now if I don't see him anymore. I'm not going to go overboard in that. I hope he becomes broke and gets sent back or deported to Cuba and stuff like that. But see, Boris, see after that performance last night, after the shit that you spoke, you deserve to be deported back to Cuba and get Castro to put you in jail, or Castro's brother. I know Castro's dead or stuff like that, but absolute shit. But going back to the original question, Steve, I would like to kind of like maybe sit and think about it a wee bit more. I mean, Mayweather at 130, 135 was absolute supreme. I really enjoyed watching him at that point. Lomachenko, I just think maybe Floyd's maybe too sharp, with the single shots and that, especially the right hand. If it comes to the inside stuff and stuff like that, I think Floyd's got a better inside game than Lomachenko. But it's a great fight. It's one of those, what would happen, what if, and that's going to be one of these fights that the forums that would be arguing about for years to come and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's it would have been a great fight, obviously. But as for that last night,
Isn't the difference between Lomachenko and Floyd? I'm sorry. Isn't the difference between Rigondeaux and Floyd is that Rigo clearly proved last night that he has one way of fighting and couldn't adapt, whereas Floyd has consistently proved throughout his career that yes, he does have one preferred way of fighting. When it doesn't go his way, he can adapt to Plan B, Plan C, Plan D, and Rigo clearly proved that he couldn't. But
sorry, can I just jump in here? There's a guy, this guy's pissing me off in the chat now. CM Fox, phone up, mate, and we can have a chat about this 126 bullshit. It is not a completely different fight. You try to tell me a 4 pound weight difference makes it a fight completely different? Are you fucking serious? Like 4 pounds? Come on.
Right, Hater, low back, go ahead.
But wait. I just want to make one other point. Actually, I'm kind of making it on behalf of somebody else, but I thought it was very, very, very astute. So last night I talked to Boxing Asylum forum legend Sebastian Castelletti, and Seb said, he goes, if this proves one thing, he goes, so he was absolutely disgusted with the fact that Rigo quit, and he goes, even though I'm hating Rigo right now, he's like, I have to say that if Rigo had ever did fight Frampton or Quigg or
Santa Cruz.
Yeah, if he ever did fight those guys, there's no doubt about it that he would have absolutely schooled them. And so he said that really, it's like some of these big fights that people build up in their minds in the modern times. He goes, they're really not as big as people think. They're really just big because the names are big. But really, he goes, people get credit nowadays for just basically, beating the shit out of B+ fighters. And the B+ fighters are glorified simply because they have a lot of media attention or they have a big fan base. But really, it would really be no great shakes in another era if Rigo beat the hell out of Frampton, Quigg, or Santa Cruz. Because he's going to beat those guys. We all know he's going to beat those guys. And, it's just, we only would build up those fights in our mind to be big fights because those guys have a lot of fan following behind them.
I just say is, these people, right, going on about like 126, it's a completely different fight. You fucking know this. Is it really? Okay, so why is he asking for a fight at 124, 2 pound lighter, right? It's absolutely fucking, it's putrid. And the other thing as well is, they're going about like say, you had to go up to 130 to take the fight. He called for the fight. He could have stayed at 126 and fought anybody he wanted, Rigo. He could have fought anybody at 126, but no, he wanted the big fucking money payout. You try to tell me one fucking fighter between 122 and 126 that Rigondeaux makes $400,000 from. Name me one fucking fighter.
Go on, Gabe.
There's not one.
Name one.
There is not one. There is not fucking one fighter. He wanted the Lomachenko fight because he knew it was a cash out fight. It was the biggest money fight that he could get, right? Now, Lomachenko offered the fight at 126, right? It's not a completely different fight, and Rigo shat the bed. You want me to tweet you out the fucking the YouTube videos just to make you fucking happy to see that fucking Rigo says, I don't want to fight at 126, I want to fight at 124. Do you want me to send it out to you? DM me and I'll send it to you.
Right, hey to Dave
No.
Lowback. Make your comment quickly, and then Rob, and then we'll move on.
Well,
Go ahead first, Dave.
We're way off the rails now, but I was just going to say I like the question about Loma versus Floyd at the current weight Loma's at. Even though I don't rate him, or I guess I'm not as big a fan of him as some of you guys are, I pick him to beat Floyd. I think stylistically he's got a great style for Floyd. Might look like a little bit like Spadafora in that sparring session where he really destroyed Floyd. Obviously that Floyd was not peak condition, but and Floyd's power would definitely be more of a factor than we're used to in recent years at that weight. But yeah, I think Lomachenko wins almost every round. I think it's a great style to beat Floyd.
Yep, good shout on Spadafora. I'd forgotten all about him. What a wasted talent. That's a conversation for another evening. Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say I didn't want to detract from Lomachenko's performance. I think he did what he was expected to do and was en route to probably a wide UD or a late stoppage. And he's the guy that we have to, as boxing hardcores, get behind now and champion, because he is really like something like, beg your pardon, like he's one of these guys that comes around every 30 years or longer than that with some of the stuff that he's able to do. But I would make a point about Rigondeaux not changing his tactics. I saw on the video in the week when they asked him, I think it was Radio Raheem or one of them asked him had he looked at footage of Lomachenko, and he was like, no, he dismissed it. And it looked like he didn't know what was in front of him last night. Like he wasn't prepared for any of the move arounds or to try and cut the ring differently or anything. He just had nothing. Like, so it was a cash out, and it's sad to see him work like that.
See another thing, right? You can't, I'm not a big one for punch starts and stuff. I think it's bullshit. But let me just mention this, and I'm not using this to make a point, but I'm just going to say this and maybe make my point. According to the start sale last night, Rigo only landed 15 punches. 15 punches, right? But that means nothing, because at the end of the day, Rigo never let a lot of punches go. He was always methodical. He was always kind of like saving his energy or whatever and stuff. He never let his hands go. No much. He only seen when he saw the gaps open, used his speed against his B-level operators. They couldn't do it last night because he's up against the cream of the cream.
And apparently, out of one of those 15 punches, he broke his hand on one of them.
Sorry, but I think like as well, in terms of I forgot what I was going to say, so I'm going to jump out real quick.
Don't jump out too far, Rob, because I'm coming to you in 1 second. If anybody wants to continue the 2001 Floyd versus 2017 Lomachenko at super featherweight conversation, then hit me up on Twitter as the evening progresses, and I shall read them out. Hey to Dave wants to get on to James DeGale. Don't worry, Dave, we'll be getting there soon. Quick word, Rob Kelly, on Michael Conlan on the undercard. Nice composed performance. He visibly looked like a guy who wanted to get the rounds in last night after a few knockout wins.
Yeah, well, I said before about Conlan, like I think it's good that he's learning on a job, and he's learning on a job in the States. Like, so big fan of Mick. I think people want to rush these Olympians sometimes a little bit up the pro ranks to get them into title fights, but that's cool for Lomachenko when you're 451-1, and you're like something that nobody's ever seen, or even Rigondeaux when you're rushing to a world title. But let Mick learn on the job. All right, he got the rounds in last night. Held his hands a little bit low, I thought, at certain times. I was worried about that in the States, especially, you could be fighting these journeymen, but they might have a dig on him. So, but these are all the things that he has to go through, and he's progressing nicely. So, a nice 2017 for Mick Conlan.
Excellent stuff. Hey, today, did you see anything of Shakur Stevenson, or do you not care?
I saw it. The level of the opponent was just such that Conlan's opponent was a little better. You could tell Conlan's guy at least knew a little bit about what he was doing, and then I thought that in fact made Conlan not look that great to me. I thought he looked kind of out of offensive ideas, even though he was obviously the superior athlete in there and won easily. But I mean, I wasn't too impressed with either guy's performance. Shakur Stevenson never really like dropped or just mangled the guy or anything. He just kind of easily landed his shots, and he grunts a lot when he throws, which I don't like. And then Sparkle Lee, the only female referee in boxing that I am aware of, stopped the fight. It was probably premature, but there was no reason for it to go on. Thing is, stopping it that early, he's not going to learn anything from that. I mean, it was less than a sparring session, so it was pretty pointless. And none of those fights, in my opinion, should have been televised. Or if they were, they should have been earlier, because, well, I guess we had to see the Heisman Trophy. For fuck's sake, just a terrible night.
Well, I think the reason why they did that was because, in other words, when you're talking about the fight, and I know, Dave, you're on the East Coast like I am, they wanted that main event to go on at about 11:30, so that on the West Coast it would go on about 8 or 8:30. So they had to put on some of those undercard fights, even though you and I both know that they may be kind of pointless. But I think they wanted to make sure that the main event was viewable on the West Coast around 8 or 8:30, so that they can maximize the ratings.
Right, let's move on, guys. Smido Smith, let's go over to London, where James DeGale came a cropper in the copper box. I tweeted out last night, Smido, that his opponent, Caleb Truax, the new IBF super middleweight champion of the world, was really a natural middleweight, barely in the world's top 50 in the independent rankings. This was a punishing defeat for DeGale. There's no two ways about it, Smith.
Oh, yeah, bad, real bad. And it comes at a really bad time because we've got the Super Series or whatever it's called nowadays, where there's going to be particularly a lot of hype over the February fight between Eubank and Groves. Obviously, you've still got Callum Smith, who is likely to make. So basically, we're going to have an all-English semi-final with a lot of hype and probably an all-English final with a lot of hype, with DeGale waiting in the background ready for the winner. Well, I think that's gone out the window, to be honest with you. Just very flat from DeGale last night. I thought he was... Early doors, I thought he was digging in, looking for the knockout. He was digging him to the body quite nicely, actually, with like some sort of left hook or left uppercut to the body. It was definitely a looping punch down there. But Truax just wouldn't take no for an answer, really. Stuck to his game plan, coming forward, pressuring DeGale. He alluded to as much in the post-fight interview, said he watched Badou Jack, who pressured DeGale for most of the fight, and he tried to follow that, and he did so. In that sixth round, I think it just got to DeGale. It was a little bit surprising for me. It wasn't like we built up to that moment. But yeah, Truax just caught him, and DeGale looked in all sorts of trouble. Mouth was open, damage to the mouth. On the move, trying to basically run for that round. He did really well to survive it. But then it was swinging back and forwards in the second half of the fight. I think it was close. I don't bother scoring it nowadays, to be honest, Steve. But I thought it was close going into the latter part of the fight. But yeah, Truax just stuck to his game plan and just bludgeoned him, really. There was something missing from DeGale's performance, but I'm not here to make excuses for him. He's the man. He thinks he's the man in the division. He was definitely going in the fight as a world champion. He decided to come back in December, and if he's now saying that's too early, then more fool him. If him and Jim McDonald have come back too early, no one's forcing him into it. I don't think it was a mandatory. It's not as if his promoter's knocking on his door to fill a arena and get a payday. There's only one man to blame for coming back too early, and that's James DeGale. So if that's the excuse or reasoning that he's going with, then so be it. But it's took a massive hit. Apparently, there's no rematch clause, which has got to be at least disappointing. I mean, it's one of them where a rematch is probably quite easily made anyway. I think they're both connected with Heyman. Definitely DeGale is. I think Truax alluded to, he definitely thanked Mr. Heyman in the interview, whether he's actually signed or not. So I think the rematch is easy to be made. But DeGale in the interview after the fight, at least 3 times said, I need to change a few things in camp. That only points to one thing for me. And others have said it for a while, that Jim McDonald is a great fitness coach, but is he a great boxing coach?
Ozzy Smido has made a couple of points I was going to bring up. I'll hit you with the shoulder one. DeGale intimated afterwards that he came back too soon, as Smido said. I mean, was this an excuse? Was he having a dig at somebody? It wasn't like the whole boxing public was smashing doors down for his return. I mean, why not take the right amount of time after a shoulder surgery if that's what's needed?
Well, he was saying pre-fight that his shoulder felt good. It was flowing, not at its best, but it felt good. And he was training really well. And then, obviously, come after the fight, he loses. It's all about rushing it back. Now, I've got to admit, he didn't. Something looked up. Now, for me, he looked like he just lacked confidence in throwing the jab, and ultimately it hindered him all night. He couldn't keep Truax off at all, and I feel that the shoulder must have played a part on it. And he looks shattered. We talk about McDonald getting him in great shape, and visually he looks it, but there's at times now where DeGale looks shattered, sometimes halfway through a fight, and it's got to be a concern whether the weight.
That was DeGale.
Fucking wonder what that was then.
That was DeGale hoovering something up. You know what I mean, mate?
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. And obviously lavish lifestyle is ultimately catching up on him now. I mean, you saw when he was injured, he was out just getting pissed up in a beaver all the time. No, I'm not saying he has to be housebound, but the therapy he needs to be going through, surely it needs to be intense anyway. So he's on about looking at changing things in camp. I've got for a while now that Jim McDonnell should go. I don't like him. I mean, a lot of people were saying last night it's not always the trainer. I think sometimes when people say that, it's because it is the fucking trainer, and they're just close to the relevant person. For me, DeGale needs someone who can give him a bollocking and really get him going. Last night, it just looked like. I mean, Jim McDonnell was telling him he was winning the fight. I mean, at times, and you think, well, hang on, this is close. This is a coin flip. And at times he's saying, oh, no, it's fine. You're doing really well. You're doing really well. Sometimes I think a fighter, like remember when Ronnie Davis just slapped Chris Eubank in the thing? Something like that. Really get him going. DeGale, on paper, is miles better than Truax. He should have made light work of him, but instead it was, whether it was underestimating him, I think he mentioned 5 different opponents prior to this fight ever. So is it a case of overlooking him? And fair play to Truax, he got given an opportunity that he probably thought he would never get, and he's made DeGale look poor. And I mean, the world's his oyster now, isn't he? He's got a prime belt at super middleweight. I mean, he's definitely not going to be short of offers. I won't be shocked to see the rematch early. What we're talking, April next year, perhaps.
Yeah, I think we'll see the rematch. Just before we bring in our friend Low Place, Hater Dave, feel free to spew some hate on DeGale.
Yeah, I used to be a big DeGale hater. He used to talk a lot of shit, way too much considering his level of achievement. I used to hate how we would constantly have to, this was back in the forum days, constantly get a new thread every other day or every day about him saying something. This was after his loss to Groves, and he was basically nowhere, and we just had to constantly hear from him. Since then, I mean, I've kind of cooled on him. I don't think he's a particularly skilled guy. He's a guy who gets by on athletics, sort of like Roy Jones, but obviously not as good. And there's a certain skill and intelligence to using athleticism effectively. I'm not going to say he's like dumb in there, and he's gotten used to it. But when those athletics start to go, I mean, you don't have these fundamentals to fall back on. I think Caleb Truax has more fundamentals than James DeGale, more basics. And I think he did win the fight. It was maybe a round either way, 2 rounds maybe for Truax. I think you could possibly give him 8 rounds. Maybe I could possibly see 7 for DeGale at a push, but I didn't score it precisely. Either way, I mean, he was the one with the big rounds. DeGale was the one who looked like he'd been battered around the ring, and he was in like 2 or 3 rounds of that fight, dominated. I'm really happy for Truax. Don't get me wrong, but DeGale's the bigger name here. I guess he's the one we talk about. This is not the first time that his vulnerabilities have shown up. Just taking a look back at his career. After he lost to Groves, he fought that, what was it, a Polish guy, Wilczewski, struggled with him badly. He got hurt, I believe, barely won that fight. He went on a good run after that, had some convincing wins, but then he got to Andre Durrell. Now this is good because Durrell's a good athlete himself. He narrowly won that fight, but he allowed Durrell to get back into it after he hurt him. Then there was Butte. I don't think he did as well against Butte as he should have done. Butte was washed up at that point. And then, of course, Rogelio Medina did much better against him than he should have, considering Medina's level. I think that was a very close fight. That was like a 115, 113 fight for me. And then, of course, for me, he's coming off back-to-back losses because Badu Jack just beat the shit out of him, and I think took his soul, possibly. So this is 2 back-to-back bad losses. Could be the end of his career. I think, in order for him to continue onward, he's going to need to have a rematch with Caleb and stop him easily or impressively without too much of a fuss. Otherwise, I don't think the confidence will ever be there again.
Excellent stuff. Thanks, Dave. Even while we're on the subject of super middleweights, Fedor Chudinov won the vacant WBA international super middleweight title against Canada's Ryan Ford last night in Russia. I'm sure nobody cares about that. Joining us on the call now, we have our friend Low Place. You're very welcome, sir. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, shit. I think the story of the weekend shouldn't be Lomachenko Rigo. I think it was a circus, and I think what he was just talking about, the champion losing his belt, he was rightfully number one in the division to some people's eyes. But I agree, Badu Jack beat the hell out of him, and that's why I have Badu Jack, in my opinion, pound for pound number three. He's doing it the right way. James DeGale goes in there, and I'm thinking to myself, this is nothing more than to see if he has anything. And it wasn't that. He looked scared. Round by round, you just could see, James DeGale looks scared in the corner. He looks not in the corner, on the ropes. He looks scared. There's fundamental breakdowns of his hands falling. He stands straight up. You knock him back. You knock him back again. Same shots. And he's taking whiplash punches. Every time he's hit, it looks like, the neck is just, when you take your seatbelt off and it just runs from you. That's what his neck seems to look like when he gets hit. I credit it to Badu Jack. The Porky Medina fight, I think he fought back enough to a point where you can say, yeah, he won the fight. I do like the Darrell win. Darrell's a good athlete. Had I think he beat Carl Froch. James DeGale dropped him, came over to the States, dropped him like 2 or 3 times in the first. I think it was 2 times in the first round. And I did like the Butte performance. I can't say Butte was shot because Butte was doping. And it's easy not to be shot when you're doing those things. And he did the same with Badu Jack. I think Badu Jack beat Butte much easier though. But when you're doping, you got that extra advantage. But James DeGale, man, I think it's over with. I think it's done. It's too late. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. 32 years old, been getting by on his good legs, but they're going, and he's having to go from spot. His movement has no mind to it. It's just move to move. It's going from one spot to the next spot. And Caleb Truax, man, how dare you lose to him? He's been KO'd at 160, KO'd at 68. Eubank Jr. was right when he said it was a joke to UK boxing. That's just the end of it. It's ridiculous.
Did you say you have Badu Jack as pound for pound number 3?
I do. I respect them so much. See, with me, I don't rate circus fighters. I don't rate the Canelo circus fights and say, oh, but he beat Cotto. Yeah, you saw what happened to Cotto recently. Cotto was there to be beat. Badu Jack has fought, I think it was 4 top 10 opposition in a row he beat. Darrell, Groves, Butte, and then he got into a unification fight where he, like what you just said, he took the man. So he should be the lineal and unified 168-pound champion and ring champion, but they took it from him. I don't care what the result says. I see what he's doing, and I respect that. He's not fighting some 37-year-old 154-pounder. He's not doing that to get over. He's fighting in his division. He's doing it the right way, and he's beating people's ass, and I respect it.
Tell me about your old mate Adonis Stevenson. What's going on with him at the moment? Because it's indefensible, isn't it? Really, low place.
Well, I mean, I'm sort of. I didn't want to speak about him, but if you want to go there, I'm gonna say this: if Alvarez, see what I know, Alvarez got offered $150,000 to be the mandatory. Jamel Charlo just defended his title for $100,000. Alvarez is turning this money down. So if you're turning it down, and you're supposed to be the number 3 rated light heavyweight and the mandatory, you're taking a good opponent. Like, I don't get it. This is your opportunity. When he turns it down, then he goes and gets step-aside deals from the promoter and not money from Stevenson. Stevenson doesn't respect him to pay him enough. Obviously, he's giving him a deal, and you're saying, no, the WBC should move him as the mandatory. And what they tweeted was sort of like, yo, he can't be crying if he taking step-aside money. So I think that's the end of that. But I hope Stevenson can get Alvarez is a, ratings wise and wins wise, what he has up there. He's a legit opponent. Badu Jack is a legit opponent. I hope the people in the WBC ratings under him say, move his ass out the way. I'm ready for my title shot. And I hope the WBC you know what I mean? Just give him the shot. And we'll see great fights at 175, even fights. And I know damn small man, just because he was yapping and talking shit, and instead of ignoring him, you go beat him up. Just ignore him. The fly lands on the lion, and what does the lion do? That's a damn fly. Nothing. You see it all the time. BBC Earth shows you this. You land on the lion, you sit there. So what? Talk, Rigo. I don't like to waste the time fights. So I mean, it's organic at 75. Stevenson's the lineal champion. You should have a target on his back to go get him. And if you don't have that target, he's just going to reign as your lineal champion. And Wikipedia is going to tell you that if he did it for 10 years, he's going to be there for 10 years and your name won't be. So that's how I look at that, you know?
Fair enough. What's your Twitter handle, Low Place, in case anybody wants to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I almost forget that, man. Hold on, let me see. At my low place, all one word, man.
At my low place. Excellent stuff. Thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure to hear from you.
I appreciate it, man.
All the best. Low place there, occasional caller to the show. Right, let us move on because it's 9:05 and we're going to be here all night otherwise. A question for you, Rob Kelly, from the box Bet Beast. This is still on DeGale. He says, is it time for DeGale to look for a new trainer? His team is tactically inept. The times in his career when he holds centre ring, he has barely lost a round, yet he spends huge chunks of his fights backing himself onto the ropes, wherein he gets outworked. I have heard Jim McDonnell tell him in fights that he's winning every round, he's looking good, when in fact Durrell, Porky Medina, Butte, Jack and Truax are outworking him. It's frustrating, Rob Kelly.
Yeah, I think there might be a case for saying that he's overtrained in some fights because he definitely looks to drain towards the second half of fight. Roles, like their careers are roller coasters, but they're never the same. Ever since they met, like, you know, growth career goes one way. Beg your pardon, I have a cough. Grove's career goes one way. He's at the pinnacle, 85,000 in Wembley. He's fighting in shopping centres. Then Groves has a mighty fall. Then he's a world champion. And now, like, Groves is back in contention. DeGale is on the slide. Like, I don't know what's happening. Like, I think, you know, there's been talk that he's not living the lifestyle, and there it is. Like, he has talent, won an Olympic medal. He's obviously a good fighter, and there's something lacking in his latest performances, and maybe that's an indicator that he's not living the life. If you don't live the life, and you're with even guys at that Truax's level who are C-level fighters, like a C-level fighter, you're getting beaten by, like, so that's maybe evidence that he might need not just a change in trainer, but a change in lifestyle as well.
His gas tank's fucking horrendous, by the way. Even before all this carry on, you know, Butte, Jack and stuff like that, Darrell, you know, he let the guys get back into those fights. And it's purely because his gas tank. Now, if word's been coming out, and Chris Eubank alluded to the fact as well, if he's been kind of dicing with all Peruvian powder, then there's only one way that's going to end up. You're going to end up with a fucking serious bill to your dealer. And he's only one to fight for certain amounts of money, and he's going to retire shortly and stuff like that. The guy's heart's not in it anymore. That last night was deplorable. You know, I don't want to hear the excuses, oh, my arm wasn't right and stuff like that, and then you start blaming your trainer. That guy has been tight with you since you turned pro. So to start then looking at him, I know he's no class of good boxing trainer, he's more class of fitness trainer and stuff like that, but to then turn round, and because that guy's took you into his house with his family, fed you, clothed you, fucking put you up in a fucking room for the night or whatever, and you turn around and you're going to end up kind of kicking him into touch because you got embarrassed, because you took the guy lightly and you got hurt in the fifth round. I was going to ask a question actually. Round 5, did anybody score that a 10-8 round?
I wouldn't say no if someone had, Andy, to be honest.
I would be the same. I mean, I usually don't. I would have gave it 10-9 because there wasn't a knockdown, but that was borderline 10-8 because he was getting his arse kicked in and he had no response. I mean, how often have we seen in the past if the guy was maybe getting a wee bit of heat on his ass and he'd maybe come back kind of like launching punches and stuff like that? There was none of that there last night. People can go on about it as well. He was worried about the right hand or the right shoulder and stuff like that. Well, okay, but you've picked the wrong fucking guy, clearly. I mean, you've brought a middleweight up to fight him who is getting, well, practically peanuts for that fight there last night. And then he you know, well, I don't know how you scored it. I had Truax by a couple, but I mean, I wouldn't be against the realms of possibility that he lost that far wider. And I'm surprised actually that he even got a decision, considering how no blatant corruption, but no, I probably will say that some of the judging in this country has been in over the last year and a bit and stuff. But I'm surprised he actually got a decision there last night off the back of that.
Well, Andy, looking ahead, and Wes Shaw has asked a question. You've made your feelings known, but Wes has asked you, any chance DeGale signs up with like the Sauerlands and returns against like the likes of an Abraham and then maybe face Zoiga for the WBA regular? That, timeline-wise, should give him 2 fights and then line him up for the winner of the Super Series. At the moment, though, Andy, you wouldn't want to see him lining up for anything because he looks close to done.
That last night, mate, was as close to a washed fighter that I've seen in a long time, mate. It's like someone just like he's been right off the cliff immediately. I mean, you saw him against like Jack and Booty. They weren't poor fights. They were actually good, watchable fights. And then within what 9 to 12 months later, woof, he's right off the cliff. They're saying that either A, he's not living the lifestyle, B, he's got a problem, C, the injury still either plaguing them, which I'm not going to buy because if you fight if you know you're injured and you take the fight, then it's on you basically. It was on David Hay against Bellew. It was on DeGale this time round about as well. As okay, he took the risk didn't pay off, but to say that you rushed yourself back, then that's on you. You didn't need to come back. The IBF didn't put you in a position to say you need to defend that title against Salib Truax. You didn't need to do that. Fuck's sake, you could have sat off until next year. Get yourself fucking fitter. Get yourself clean. Or whatever it is. Just get yourself sorted out. But as for Serlins, I don't know, mate. I mean, 168 for DeGale at the minute is unless he can get a rematch, which I think he'll get. He'll get the rematch, no problem, but he'll need to pay for it this time. He'll probably need to take the kind of the B side of the money. But deep down, I mean, outside, I know Rocky Fielding is with Warren, is with Hearn. I don't know how easy these fights are to make anymore. You've got Ustagagi. I think he's got a rematch with Darrell, I think. So you then have to look at, let's say your shit like Zyga and Ekpo and Chudinov, and I think Feigenbutz is tied up really a wee bit on the background with that. Eric Skoglund, pair cunts in a fucking coma now. Hopefully he pulls through. God bless him. So you're looking at guys like Mohammadi. Bremer can get a tune-up fight with him coming back, but Bremer's biling himself down in fucking weight to make 168. He looked like a fucking Holocaust victim trying against that fight.
Brandt,
that's what it was. He won that fight. Sorry, he won that fight. So you're looking at Abraham, David Brophy, Paul Smith, Bobby Gunn Jr., Avni Yildirim. I mean, these are shit names, man. These are really shit names. G. Leon Love, you've spoke about a shit about as well. As these are the type of guys that, okay, if you're going to come back, these are the guys you're going to have to maybe fight until the 168 tournament's over and done with. But you've basically fucked yourself big style here, and they blame your trainer and blame your fucking comeback, and that is on you. And that trainer stuck by you through thick and thin. Christmas time, he's out in the fucking snow with you, fucking taking you through your paces and stuff like that, and you say, fuck this, I'm binning you, you're no use. But after how long together? 10 years as a fucking pro? Come on. A wee bit of loyalty, surely.
I think at least, I can't speak for Adam, but at least I feel a bit vindicated. Imagine what the Cobra would have done to this dude. Iced him.
That was a different DeGale. That was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but this version of DeGale, he would have iced him early, like.
I would have iced him at any point.
If that was Froch in that fifth round there last night, by the way, DeGale's picking up the rest of his teeth that fucking Jack took out him. So fucking Froch should be making him pick up the rest of it.
New teeth, new nostrils. Ozzy's going to need a new facelift at this rate.
Who's this big James DeGale? Yeah, I know completely. He was. I watched it again because I had it a lot closer than I said it was last night, and quite frankly, he got battered. I think was it round 5 or 6 where he looked out.
5, yeah.
Yeah, round 5. He did well to stay up actually. I mean, how he didn't even just take a knee or something like that. He had the shit beaten out of him. Now, where somebody mentioned the Sowlands, if he's going to go with anyone, I think he'll stay with Frank. I think Frank still obviously rates him. He's still a name of sort. And what we've got to remember is it was a dire performance. I compared it to someone like Billy Joe Saunders boxed like this against Artur Akhov, but he got away with it. Now Saunders against Akhov, I thought it was close. I thought he could have probably lost it, but he got away with it. Now the Gale, obviously, there's levels, and he was poor. Can he come back from it? I think we'll have to wait and see. But as a comeback fight, if he can't get the Truax rematch, I wouldn't mind seeing him in with Fedor Chudinov, because Chudinov, he bulldozes his way forward, so he's not going to give the Gale a breather. He's not a huge puncher, and he's not bad. He's been up there. So it will be an interesting test to come back with, considering all your top guys are tied up, unless they want to chuck him in with someone like Tyron Zoiga or something like that. But I think they'll try and buy the belt back, whether it be Al Heyman or I think Frank said he's going to try and help out and get involved because they'll want to put it up. That's what he said. He's going to try and basically he wants to promote the Gale, isn't he? It looked relatively full last night, and it seemed a decent atmosphere. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I know Andy was quite saying he shouldn't be shooting his trainer in the back, and I can see where he's coming on. But for me, I think DeGale possibly does need to change things up. Maybe take himself away from London, where he's not got these distractions. You know, like Billy Joe, as he's gone to Sheffield, he's on his own, he's doing everything where there's no distractions. Maybe DeGale does something the same. Just take himself away, whether he goes to America and trains over there, or he goes, for example, up to Sheffield, Scotland, wherever. And if it's still not working, then you can maybe look at time to call it quits.
Ozzy, tell me quickly about Daniel Dubois. An alliterative headline writer's dream last night as Dynamite Daniel Dubois destroyed Dorian Darch. I mean, he's young, he's hungry, he can clearly whack a bit to Dubois, but do we need to see how he fares against somebody who hits back before we get carried away too much?
I think that's fair, but I tell you what, his jab's excellent. For a guy, what is he, 20? He possesses a lot of quality, and I think it's a journey that people should get involved with. I think these days now with social media and things like that, people win for the faults. Now I saw yesterday that Dubois absolutely pasted Darch, but straight away people say, he got tagged a couple of times. Well, he's bound to be 20 years old. Why not enjoy the fact that you've got a huge heavyweight? He's massive for 20. He's only going to get stronger, bigger. He's not all muscle, so it could be a positive that he could actually go the rounds because he's not lumping around. He's not like 8% body fat or something like that. He's got a lot of qualities. So let's enjoy it. He did what he had to do last night, and he did it in impressive style. Darch, he's brave. I say he came to win. He looked to make a fight of it. He didn't go in a shell. He looked to throw shots, and Dubois just absolutely annihilated him. And I actually look forward to watching him now. I think he's got a lot of qualities. He's garbage in front of the camera, but in terms of interviews and stuff, but I couldn't give a toss about that. I only care about what he does in the ring and what he's doing at the moment. It's very good. And hopefully it's the purse bids on Wednesday for him against Nick Webb for the English title.
Yeah, they were saying Gorman on BT, but that's not right, is it?
Fucking idiots. It pisses me off, this. These guys get paid to do things like that. And it's as simple as look at the bloody board minutes, and it's Daniel Dubois versus Nick Webb, purse bids to be called. It's on Wednesday. Now, I want to see that fight. I don't want to see Dubois pull out of this because it'll piss me off. Because if they're not going to go in with Webb, then they're going to take him down some other bullshit route. I think he destroys Nick Webb. I'm not impressed with him at all. And it'll be good because it's another step up in terms of Webb. He's a bit better quality, but I think Dubois will be too good for him. And then I saw something mentioned yesterday, but he can actually box for the British title now. He's in his 21st year, therefore that qualifies him to box for that. Now I think they're going to eye up Sam Sexton for the summertime next year, and again I think that's a fight he can win. Then potentially for Dubois, go and defend it 3 times. He's 20 years old. He doesn't need to be fast-tracked unless he shows that he's way, way beyond and he can take a shot, and then I'm happy to see him go in with the likes of your fringe world-level contenders in the next 18 months.
Andy, Lee Selby got a win last night against Eduardo Ramirez. Hardly stirring stuff. Ramirez wasn't the worst opponent that's been brought over to the shores, though. Danny Young has thrown a question in. Is Lee Selby finished at the weight? And does anybody think that Warrington has a real chance of beating him? Not sure about beating him, but I think Warrington, I maintain, will give Selby a decent fight. Because Selby's okay, but I think Warrington will give him a run for his money.
Aye, I think I maybe mentioned that last week. Actually, you just don't know, where this Mexican boy is. He going to have problems because he's crashing the weight, or he's having problems making the weight. That last night it was kind of like recycle, rinse and repeat a wee bit off Selby and stuff. There's no doubt in the guy actually. He has got ability about him, but it's just it's like every other time I watch him, it's like after about 6 or 7 rounds, I get bored and I've got. I tell you how bad I go. I actually switched it off and switched it over and watched that Soccer PM and watched Tyson Fury speaking for a wee bit and stuff like that with Danny Dyer and somebody else. I think it might be Jason McAteer or whatever. It was just, as I say, it was just kind of rinse and repeat. I know Ramirez came in overweight and he couldn't win the title and stuff. So maybe that had. I might be stretching a wee bit here. Maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe he knew the title was safe, but if he'd lost there last night, maybe the title would have went vacant. Who knows? But As for the Warrington fight, it depends where this fight gets made. I think it'll get held in Leeds. I'm expecting it to get announced next week. I think Warren maybe alluded to that fact anyway. But I'm really kind of expecting a wee bit better of Warren. I think in front of his own fans, I think Warrington will need to make a show of it. But I do expect Selby at some point to basically kind of. I think in the end he'll end up outboxing. I think he'll end up getting like 115, 113, 116, 112 type scorecard. But again, Steve, you were there, mate, in New York, or sorry, that fight you had postponed against
Barros.
Aye. You said to me that he looked absolutely dreadful.
Terrible.
That weight, and that
he was emaciated. He was yellow. His lips were chapped. He said to me himself, he said, if I had any water left in me, I'd cry. The guy looked terrible.
I mean, there he came in at 124 and 3/4 there. That's a guy who's basically taking everything out of himself, in my opinion anyway, to try and make that weight. I don't know how he keeps doing it. Now, see, I met Lee at the Josh Taylor, Dave Ryan. Was it Dave Ryan that he fought? And be honest, he's a big laddie, for a featherweight. I was doing no idea how he makes that fucking weight. Absolutely none whatsoever. But he doesn't excite anybody. You could hear it that the crowd weren't into it. The crowd were really mild for that fight and whatsoever. I see the tweets and stuff, all across the world, America, UK, Europe and stuff like that. The guy just doesn't excite anybody. I mean, there was a time and stuff where you kind of thought to himself, especially at domestic level anyway, you thought, okay, this, I remember like the Matt Lindsay fight in Belfast being really kind of like, you were probably there, Steve, but I remember it being a decent fight.
That was supposed to happen twice. The first time, Selby actually got ill after he'd weighed in, and Lindsay ended up fighting Renaud Garrido. And then the second time, it was a decent fight. Selby put a pounding on. And at that time, Andy, Selby was like this dangerous, exciting puncher, a bit mystical. Nobody really knew much about him. And he has become pretty turgid over the years.
What was the thing, mate? I mean, he comes off that John Simpson one in 2011. I mean, everybody knows, or who's listening to me knows, that I'm a John Simpson fan. John was hard as a coffin nail, and to stop Simpson like that, especially with a body shot in the 5th round, I'm saying to myself, okay, this guy's maybe one to watch. And that was at British level. He just gradually he came up through the levels and stuff, and then okay, nobody really kind of rates Gradovic or whatever and that, but he did the business. Montiel,
good win that was.
But I remember people then shitting on the Montiel victory. I wasn't kind of too enamoured with that fight either, because Montiel, I thought, seen better days. His best days were at bantamweight and stuff, and he came up and it wasn't a applauding performance, but he won it kind of. He had these moments where he was actually having to kind of dig deep. Eric Hunter came in there. It's not been good to watch. And I know a lot of people on this panel. Well, I know Steve, you're no kind of. You were like, well, I'm not really that fussed if this fight's going to, if it goes a distance or no. If it does, it does. I'm not really going to be bored and watch it. But it says it got really that bad there last night. I actually switched it over for 5-10 minutes to watch something else. That's how bad it was. Just as I say, it runs, recycle, repeat. I think really he needs to get the Warrington fight out the road pretty sharpish, and really look at trying to get the Frampton fight by the end of July, August next year, and then move up and weight after that. He can't keep making 126 like that, because, as I say, I think he is going to, if he can keep making the weight, then fair enough. But I think at some point he's going to cut it too far, and he's going to come a cropper. They beat that against like Frampton, Jojo Diaz. He's already beat that Romanian guy and stuff like that. But I think his time's coming. It really is, especially against like say your other guys. I know Valdez is meant to have given him a hard time in sparring, I think. So if he goes up against any other champions, I mean, Gary Russell, he's only fights once a year and stuff like that, but Gary Russell gave him problems, especially with the hand speed. So
once every year and a half, more like.
Yeah, probably. Aye. So as I say again, I'm not wanting to slate the guy, because I do like Lee. I've met him a couple of times. He's a really sound kid to talk to and stuff like that. Really a fan friendly guy, but as he's not a fan friendly kind in terms of fights and stuff. More recently, anyway. And his reign as champion's been average. So unless he's going to get, like say, the so-called bigger fights or unifications and stuff like that, he needs to move up in weight. But it's a shame, because you know how I've said in the past before, there's certain fights that transcend titles. Well, Lee Selby's a fighter that doesn't transcend any sort of title. He needs that title to be somewhat relevant, because can you imagine anybody kind of really queuing up to get him on like HBO or Showtime and stuff like that? That's not happening. It just isn't happening. He's just not fan friendly enough, I don't think.
Yep, completely agree with Andy. He is on borrowed time at featherweight, and I don't want to see him fail. I want to see him in big fights, in good fights against domestic operators. No more bullshit for Selby. I want to see him do well. Smido, moving on. Good win for Anthony Yarde. Ticked a lot of boxes. I was impressed with his knockout win over Nikolai Szejloka. The box bet beast has recommended a fight for Yard coming up next, possibly South African Thomas Oosthuizen. Should be a good, cheap, and decent test. Yep, don't disagree with that at all. What did you make of Yarde, Smido?
Is he still going, that Oosthuizen?
Yep, apparently so. I think he likes a drop of the old Devil's Juice, so I don't know if he's...
fight that is did you say a Yarde for Oosthuizen?
Yeah, that might not be too bad. He's 27-1 under.
Nah, Oosthuizen's got problems. He's got drink and drug problems. He's not reliable. He's been dropped by his promoter. That's just not happening. I would expect Yarde to absolutely obliterate him.
Yeah, I agree. Smido, terrible suggestion.
There's a step up for Yarde last night. He's still not been past 4 rounds. I think he was losing that second round. Well, I think Szejloka was winning the second round until Yarde hit him with an uppercut and then followed by like a right hook up top. And then that was it. It was only a matter of time since then. He's obviously got a lot of power. Szejloka, who has been campaigning at super middle previously, we've seen him on these shows at super middle, was actually an inch taller than Yarde, but Yarde just looked massive. Obviously, he's very, very muscly. So I'm just wondering whether Yarde, when he goes up to world level, is going to be the tallest out there. He probably isn't, but he's certainly got a lot of power. But it's just whether that gas tank holds out. Dubois, I agree with Oz. Good jab. That was what I could take from last night. We've seen Dorian Darch. We know he's limited. But yeah, everything that Oz said about Dubois, I agree with that. Get the British title, defend it 3 times. He's only very young. Frank's keen to keep him, to go slow with him. He said as much after the fight. Selby, I didn't even watch. I think he's boring. So I'm not really interested in Lee Selby at the minute, to be honest.
Rob, good win on the road last night for Big Sexy, defeating Arnold Jurjai, 8th round knockout.
Oh.
I know you probably didn't see it, Rob, like me, but it goes to show, I suppose, with Jurjai, how you can build a record, an undefeated record with an utterly shite fighter. I'm hoping to see Turner maybe get a shot at Mark De Mori next, and then David Hay will be in a wheelchair by that point. War Big Sexy.
Was that for me? Yeah. Sorry, man, I was out of the room, but I just anticipated that it was for me from the silence. Big Sexy, yeah. That was the fella that David Hay beat. That was a bizarre fight, wasn't it, when David Hay beat him? Like, it was all like, there was no boxing people at the venue. It was all like page 3 girls and friends of David in the crowd. And your man was looking for the floor like before he hit it. So I don't know what it says about stopping that guy, but good for him.
Just give a shout out to Ozzy, because Ozzy found the link and stuff like that. But I'll need to give this comment to the guy in the chat who, I forget, his name was Callum something. Ozzy, maybe remember his name is. He came up with the best line in that fucking whole chat, because that stream that they put up on YouTube was fucking dire. I mean, shit. It's like going back to like when the internet was first invented. And the guy says, "What they're doing this? They're showing this on fucking CCTV or something like that." It was fucking dreadful. Hey Ozzy, how bad was it, mate?
It was the worst stream I have ever seen. It was. I'll tell you what. I thought it was going to stink of a robbery purely for the fact that every time Turner had success, it's like you can picture some like old codger trying to film it on his shitty little camera, just turning it off. It was awful. But from what we did see, Turner beat the fuck out.
Yeah, he did.
Absolutely battered him. Like I said, I know some controversy with the bookies, but they
mention it. Kill him.
Well, yeah, obviously I like to request odds when they're not up, and I knew straight away, as soon as I saw this made, I thought Turner can beat him, because for all his, I mean, he's a big lad, Turner, but he does have skills. He's boxing the
WSB, yeah.
Yeah, WSB, yeah.
He can punch too.
And he can bang, yeah, and I think, especially with the Cobra, we saw what David Hay did to him, and literally I thought he was there for the taking, so requested the odds from BetVictor, who I predominantly gamble with, and it came through straight away. And they priced Turner up at 20-1. The draw was at 2-1, and the Cobra was favourite at 4-5. And it was quite clear that they put the odds for Turner and vice versa. Anyway, so I stuck 20 quid on the Turner win at 20-1. Told you lads and stuff like that, literally get on it now while you can, and in case they change it back. Anyway, they've twigged, because I know I know a boxer who tried to put $1,000 on it, basically, because it was an absolute steal. And anyway, they've obviously emailed everybody out saying, look, it's a mistake, and they've closed a lot of accounts. Anyway, they've paid out they've paid me out as part of a treble, and I got Turner at 20-1. Now I've withdrawn that, so it's obviously a bit of luck, but it's not surprising from Bet Victor, but it's garbage because, again, it was another price they ballsed up. Even then, they had Sean Turner at 2-1. The Cobra is fucking garbage. How you can have this guy as a favourite? He is garbage. And he got beaten up with him. And if anyone wants to see the finish, if you go on Sean Turner's Twitter, I think it's Big Sexy Boxer, you can see him. And it's quite an impressive finish, actually.
Yeah, ruined him.
Yeah, he really does ruin him. And there's quite a lot to like about Turner. He's quite charismatic. He's funny. He can punch, and he does have the skills. So I'm not sure. Perhaps you probably know more about the Irish scene, me, Steve. But what about something like, is it Con Sheehan, who's with Peter Fury? Is that a fight that could be made?
Yeah, possibly. He's a big lump, Conshi, and the two of them would have met as amateurs. Con's a good boxer, but he's not good to watch. He's not a puncher, is the problem.
Is there another guy as well who's campaigning at heavyweight as well?
There's Big Niall Kennedy's around,
yeah, Niall Kennedy as well. So I don't know if something can be made there, but for how garbage the Cobra is, it's actually got people talking about Sean Turner for the right reasons.
There's talk of Big Rogie coming back to fight Sean Turner.
Really? Well, that'd be interesting. It's not a fight I want to see. That Rogan's been out for a while now, and he must be gone 40. We don't need to be seeing.
Yeah, he's about 45, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Turner in with someone like perhaps Gary Cornish or something like that. Or
I think he'd wreck Cornish. I think.
Yeah, Nathan Gorman. There's a lot of young heavyweights floating around now at domestic level, so let's chuck them in together. Let's see them. We don't mind that. I'd rather see Turner. I'd rather see the good trade fights rather than bringing these imports over that are rubbish. Let's see the lads like Turner, who obviously he's recovered from that loss against Sokolowski now, who's one of the better journeymen. He can cause problems. Let's get him in with someone like Cornish, Gorman, even Dubois. I mean, that'd be an interesting fight. I've not seen the whiskers of Turner, but he can definitely bang. So it's something to be quite interesting about. So yeah, it was a great win for Big Sexy, and it's hopefully a big 2018 for him. I know his trainer was going mad on Twitter after he was tweeting everybody who was saying like well done to him.
That's so Katie Taylor's daddy's trainer.
Oh, is that who it is? Yeah. He was. He's tweeted me like 3 pictures of him in the ring last night celebrating. So no, so it was a good one that.
Yeah, well done, Big Sexy. Right, guys, we're moving on to the final card of the weekend. Then we'll go on to the previews, Belly of the Weeks, and get out of here. It's 9:30. You're still listening to the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Nearly 200 listeners, so people must be interested. Rob Kelly's on the call. Ozzy, Gabe, Andy, Donny's back. Dave the Hater Lowback, and Adam Smido Smith. Let's go over to the west coast of America, Gabe. We need to talk about Tevin. Well, what was going on here then? His opponent, Kenichi Ogawa, apparently the Spanish language commentary had Ogawa as a clear winner. So did a couple of the judges. I don't know what they were watching, to be honest with you, because I thought that Tevin Farmer did enough, Gabe. I don't know what you saw. I thought that he should have been the new champion.
Yeah, I had it, I believe, 8 rounds to 4. If I recall correctly, 8-4. Really, I have to go and say, I thought he won the fight. The way I scored the fight, I thought it was appropriate to have 8-4, 9-3, something in that range. How they got Ogawa winning, I'll be real honest with you. I mean, I don't see it. I don't really agree with it at all. But there was some points in there where I think maybe what you could say was that Farmer didn't push enough at certain points. But even with that being the case, I mean, I still couldn't even give him a draw in that fight. I mean, it was just one of those fights that was as clear as crystal to me. And so I was really shocked when they read the scorecards. I really didn't see it being all that particularly close. 4 is not too far off. I mean, you flip it 2 more rounds and you've got a draw fight. But even that, I felt like it was just as clear as it could have possibly been. I just I don't see it at all. I was pretty disappointed that they fucked him out of it.
Donny, I'm a fan of Tevin Farmer. I remember him fighting Ivan Redcatch on the Frampton Santa Cruz undercard. And a little known fact about Farmer, he appears to be cross-eyed, so maybe Mr. Ogawa didn't know where the punches were coming from.
Maybe so. Actually, I had just sent you a message, but apparently you didn't see it. I said that I only saw the second half of the fight because I had to switch over from Loma Rigo to this fight. For the second half of the fight that I did see, Farmer looked in control. I didn't see the first half of the fight, and so I can't really intelligently opine as to what should have been the correct decision. But from that which I did see, it seemed as if Farmer was in control throughout the fight. He clearly was, at least in the second half of the fight that I saw, outboxing the Japanese gentleman. And I will have to go back and watch the first half of the fight to really give you a proper opinion. But the general consensus opinion seems to be that Farmer totally got screwed. And in some way, I think it's kind of a loss for American boxing fans, because I think that Farmer really had the chance to be the one of those great stories, kind of like an Orlando Salido, where they started off their career with a lot of losses, and they seemed to be going nowhere, and then all of a sudden, seemingly came back from the depths and turned their career into something from nothing. And he seemed to really, at least from the second half of the fight that I saw, once I switched over on the television from Loma Rigo to that fight, it seems as if he may have gotten gypped. I can't say it for sure. You'd have to ask other people, and you'd have to go back and look at the videotape. But in general, the general consensus seems to be that he may have gotten the short end of the stick. So remains.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Donna.
Does this mean we won't be seeing Tevin Farmer versus Gervonta? They've had this I don't know if Al Heyman's hopping on the Eddie Hearn bandwagon and trying to build fights to manufacture the beef, the banter. But I'm kind of surprised, because I thought they were building. I think you'd figure, even in a close fight, I would figure him to get the decision now, because I feel like his profile is rising. So I figured they were looking to make that Tevin Farmer, Gervonta Davis, even figuring that it would be a fairly easy win for Gervonta, at least compared to Lomachenko. So they had this sort of narrative going that, well, Gervonta can't fight Lomachenko because he's got this unfinished business with this guy, Tevin Farmer. So I felt like that's what they were going for a little while. I don't know if that's still in the works or not.
I'll put it to you this way. Why can that fight not happen next as an eliminator to fight the Japanese guy? Because it's the same title that fucking Davis dumped because he couldn't make the fucking weight. So what entitlement does that keep him to then step up and says, oh, well, I need to go to Japan next for this fucking fight? You be bitch. You fucking wire wannabe. You better fucking step up and fight fucking Tevin Farmer. You've clearly got beef with the guy. Yeah. So fucking go up there, sort it out.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm talking about? This is fucking, this entitlement bullshit. Just like Rigo is fucking pissing me off. That guy doesn't deserve another title shot. Fucking earn it, you be bitch.
Earn it, you wee bitch, says Andy. Rob, talking about Salido Roman, Andy was talking about CompuBox stats earlier, and I thought Max Kellerman made a good point midway through. Jim Lampley was reading off the CompuBox stats as he usually does, and he basically, Max was pulling him up on it, because I think he said that there was 700 missed punches between the two of them, according to the statistics. They'd thrown so many, and the difference was 700 missed punches, and Max was like, where's the 700 odd missed punches? I can't see it between these two phone box fighters. And he sort of called into question the veracity of CompuBox, if you know what I mean.
Well, CompuBox is there for casuals, isn't it, at the end of the fight? If somebody gets hosed or whatever, and they come, well, the CompuBox says blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Nobody gives a shit about CompuBox. But sad to see poor Salido go out like that. You know what I mean? But that's how fighters like him end up going out, isn't it? They just keep going until the brakes are beat off them some night, and that's it, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Anything else on that card that interested you, Rob?
Who else was on? Oh, Tevin Farmer. Yeah, it's a pity. Yeah. I was just getting onto that. Gervonta Davis, yeah. the two of them haven't been running down on each other and everything. But if you listen to Davis in the interviews, he's just mimicking everything Floyd says. He was in Farmer's Face saying, "Well, you have 4 losses. You're not a boss. You're still fighting for 5,000. You got 4 losses. You have no belt. Blah blah blah. You ain't a he don't want to fight anybody. You don't want to fight Lomachenko, and you don't want to fight Tevin Farmer. So I don't know who's next for him."
Well, if I could just say something, I mean, I just would say that as it stands now, at least, seems like this past weekend was just a showcase for the 130-pound division. So you have what's the name of the Japanese guy that beat Farmer? Is it Agasa?
Ogawa.
Ogawa, sorry. So you have Ogawa. You have Farmer. You have Lomachenko. You have Burchelt. You have
Machado.
I mean, you have a very deep division there. And
yeah, but
even if you assume that I mean, he won't. But even if you assumed that that RIGO would stay there, whatever. I mean, you have a very deep division there at 130. There's a lot of fighters there, but it just really depends on who moves where.
Donna, you're forgetting about Evgeny Chupakov.
Sorry, who?
I just saw his name in the rankings, Evgeny Chupakov. Donnie's not interested in him, Smido. What about you?
I just thought the Farmer fight, there was a lot of missed punches in that fight from both guys, to be fair. Farmer was bringing the angles. His eyes were off-putting. He looked like he'd been on a night out with Tommy Allen.
If he'd been out the meeting Friday night, by the way, he'd be my fucking white brother, by the way. That's what they'd be. Jesus Christ.
But no, I mean, Farmer, he's got the story. He lost 4 of his first 12 fights, I think. And now he's won 18 in a row until last night. It was a shock. Spencer Fearon had it wide to Ugawa. But yeah, Farmer definitely deserved to win that fight. It was a shock. Who else was on there?
Here, Smido, tell me about Stephen Smith and Vargas, because I think that Vargas is really sneaky with the head, isn't he? He's very liberal with the old head. And is there any truth to the rumours that Stephen Smith started boxing better once his ear got destroyed and he couldn't hear Joe Gallagher's instructions anymore?
Well, once his ear got destroyed, Steve, it was over quite quickly. Stephen Smith, it's difficult for me to describe, but going toe-to-toe, any Stephen Smith or any members of the Smith family going toe-to-toe with anyone is going to be a bad idea, and it's not going to really work, particularly when you're going toe-to-toe with a Mexican who's been around the block. But saying that, the twice that Smith was really in trouble was when it was actually at mid-range for Vargas. Vargas is, unlike most Mexicans, he went to the Olympics. He's got a bit more of boxing ability rather than machismo than what we're used to seeing from Mexicans. So the few occasions that he did go to mid-range, that's when Vargas really dominated. So I can't really criticise Smith for trying to go on the inside, because that's where he was taking less damage and he was having a little bit more success. But it was, I tweeted, I watched it this morning, didn't know the result, that from within the first round and a half, I thought that Smith was going to get knocked out. But then after that, he took it to closer range. It's difficult to say he had more success at closer range. He just took less damage. I think the fight probably would have gone the distance if it wasn't for the ear. I do think it came from a headbutt or a head graze. The replay wasn't conclusive on that, but yeah, they came away from a bit of a head close-up action, and next thing you know, Smith's ear's hanging off. It was fucking well bad. It looked really. It was literally flapping about as he was walking around the ring. Real bad. Did they go to the cards, Steve? I think they went to the cards, but Stephen Smith just walked off, to be honest.
I don't think they did. They?
I don't know. I was fast forwarding after that, and I was fast forwarding to one of my favourite.
Yeah, you're quite right. Technical decision. Yeah.
It's a technical decision. Went to the points.
Sorry, I turned it off. I thought that it had been caused by a punch and didn't watch anymore. Apologies, Smina.
Yeah, I was like you, Steve. I was turned it off because I was fast forwarding to watch one of my favourite fighters of the last 10 years, Orlando Salido. How you can't like that man? He's he's provided some fantastically entertaining fights.
He's a bit fat these days, isn't he?
Or his body, to be honest, mate, his whole body, face, upper body, just looked old. It really looked battered, semi-dishevelled. You know, like you get these old fellas who are in the 60s still in the gym who are in decent shape, but the skin's coming away from their bones kind of thing.
It looks like he's been using his head to hammer nails in or something.
Yeah, honestly, mate. But he has been. If he does give it in, I know he said he's going to pack up, but if he really sticks to that, then fucking fair play to him. He's been in with some fantastic talents over the years. He's took a scalp off one or two of them. He's been a dirty, cheating bastard inside and outside the ring. I mean, he got put down, I think it was in the 5th last night. And it was a typical Salido knockdown, really. Whereas, 2, 3 or 4 kind of medium, okay scoring punches land, like Lopez did to him all them years ago. And he goes down. There wasn't any concussive blows, really, that put him down last night. But he comes back out in the next round. Blatant low blow within the first 10 seconds of the round, and then uses his head multiple times in that round. I mean, it's typical Salido. But Roman last night was, he kind of wasn't going to be denied. And it was just, Salido getting old. I mean, even 2 years ago, I think Salido would have won that fight. But he's gone out on his shield. Typically, they've had 130 fights between them, those two guys. And Roman, I think that was Roman's 60-odd fight. He's had more fights than Salido, and he's only 32. So I don't know. In that division, I don't think Roman's gonna win a world title unless he gets lucky on a vacant. But I just thought it was fantastic entertainment, to be honest.
Yeah, completely agree.
There was at least two rounds in there that were round of the year contenders. Possibly the 6th. I think the 8th was particularly good. Great fight.
Yeah, it was a good fight. Ozzy, brief word from you on Smith against Vargas. I think Smith had trouble with Vargas's physicality and getting out the way of the right hand, really. Vargas always looks finished, but I reckon he's one of those types that, despite all the injuries to the eyes and what have you, he's going to be wheeled out a few times yet.
But definitely, what I was going to say is shock. Smith brother gets tagged by right hand. It happens with every Joe Gallagher fight. They don't move their heads. No, I do think Stephen Smith has a bit of quality, but I think he'd work better under a guy that doesn't deploy the same tactics every fight. Now, it's never going to happen. It's like a broken record. These guys will not leave Joe Gallagher. But for me, they'd be better off doing so because I think they'd stand better chances of actually doing stuff in fights. I completely agree. I did think he struggled with the physicality. I'm just going to pull up Stephen Smith's record now. But it's like, well, where does he realistically go now? In his last 5 fights, he's had 3 losses: Pedraza, Sosa, and now Vargas. His 2 wins are Daniel Brazuela. Now, he's been wheeled out a couple of times. I mean, he went life and death with Tommy Coyle, so he's obviously Tim Bot. And the well-known Karolai Galovich, which took place in some small arena in Germany. And that was a KO first round for Smith. So it's difficult to see, really. Where do you see him going? It's a difficult one. Now, I know his matchroom stablemate Martin Joseph Ward is boxing for the European title on Wednesday night. So that could be a possibility. It's a fight I'd like to have seen a while ago is with Liam Walsh, who's in the Warren stable. One maybe a bit early for him yet, but I think Zelfa Barrett could beat Stephen Smith. I really, really do rate Barrett.
Yes, Oz. Yes.
I think Smith is there to be hit. I think Zelfa would lap that up all day. But it's difficult to see where he goes. He's not the biggest at super feather, is he? I mean, you were talking before about Selby at domestic level. Do you not remember when Selby iced Stephen Smith?
I was going to mention that. Yeah, it's a good point.
It was a hell of a knockout, that. So, I mean, I think he went up then because he thought, well, where do I really go at feather? He's gone up to super feather, and he's had a pretty decent career. But, I mean...
Was it Gary Buckland that Smith iced with an uppercut? That was a good finish, wasn't it?
I was there that night. That was the best knockout I've ever seen live. That was on the undercard of Kovalev and Cleverly.
It was, it was a hell of a shot. And Buckland's a tough fucker as well. So to do that is quite impressive. But back to Smith, I mean, I think, what did I put in the chat before? Did he get $50,000 for that last night?
Yeah.
He's had half his ear sliced off. Was it really worth it? I mean, Eddie Hearn always talks about this.
Life-changing money.
life-changing money. It's hardly life-changing. That'd take off your tax, a few bills to pay for Gallagher, manager as Gallagher as well. Doesn't leave him with much. And where does he go? For me, that was Hearn saying to Smith that he's not part of his immediate plans going forward.
See, the thing is, sorry, mate.
Yeah, no, go on, carry on.
I was just going to say, I know you mentioned it there actually about Martin J. Ward fighting the Spanish guys at Julie Giner. I noticed earlier on this week that the Spanish guy and Smith were actually meant to be the two challengers for this title. So Ward's always been slotted in here. So I'd imagine they might come down a little. Well, depends how much pride they've got, but they might come down in levels. Maybe fight the winner of this fight for the European title next.
Yeah, that's correct. That no, Smith should have been basically it was Smith against is it Gine or
Gine or something along the lines, mate. Aye,
something like that. It was that was all set. That was done. Matchroom won the purse bids. Then obviously this opportunity came up for Smith to go to America, and they've decided to opt against that. Now, me personally, I would have gone and got the European title because instead that, as potential voluntary or something like that for a world title. That's always the European champion. You can get round like that. Whereas now, it's going to be known as Stephen Smith, the guy who had half his ear cut off.
Last night was the Eddie HBO connection, I think, a little bit, wasn't it?
No, I mean, was it a huge opportunity? I'm not too sure. It was a weird one, really. I was surprised he took it. Now, kudos, he's took it. He's got balls for taking that, and he was obviously a clear underdog going into the fight. But they're a peculiar set, the Smith brothers. I really don't get that. I mean, Paul Smith's garbage. Liam Smith's potentially going to win another world title down the line. Callum is just...
He looked shit last time.
Yeah, I mean, it's... What could amuse me is that Rocky Fielding could win a world title before Callum Smith if they get Caleb Truax over. Now, how long has Smith been was he mandatory for that WBC title? And also
3 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, 3. And also remember, he turned down the DeGale fight in the summer. Now, if DeGale had a fuck shoulder, why the hell has he done that? Because he could have gone and beaten DeGale, and then he'd have been hot property.
Because the dog molester said no.
And this isn't an uncommon thing with Joe Gallagher. I remember this is how far he takes it now. For you don't know, it was Scott Cardle when he was up and coming. There was a journeyman called Mark McRae. Not very good, but he could punch. Really, really hit hard. And McRae knocked out an up and coming prospect. And Gallagher turned down Mark McRae for Scott Cardle, an up and coming prospect. So it's like sometimes they don't take the fights, but then Gallagher will send him abroad, Smith abroad like that, like last night. And you think, well, realistically, did he have any chance of winning? You can't keep him off. He's not hard. He doesn't hit hard enough. It's a very, very strange one.
Speaking of the Smith brothers and world titles, could we see Eddie possibly stealing Caleb right out from under Frank with no rematch clause and putting Paul Smith in there with him? And if so, who wins, Paul Smith or Caleb Truax?
Oh, Truax, no, please, Truax.
I'll tell you what, Rocky Field was quick with the tweet last night, by the way. He was wanting the shot. This guy's going to be the most wanted fighter in fucking recent history. And I tell you what, the boy better get paid for it.
Truax would beat Fielding, though, I think.
This is another one, though. Like, look at Rocky Fielding. Again, his last 4 fights since he got beat off Callum Smith. He's now 5 in the IBF rankings. Bear in mind, he's not boxed for any of these bogus IBF titles. Christopher Abras. Now, I was at that fight and Fielding lost. He got a decision on the cards. It was a joke. He got dropped and Rabras beat him, and it pissed me off because it let me down on a double that. Ist van Zeller, absolute cowboy, no one cares about him. John Ryder, again, a fight he won on a split decision, but I thought he lost that as well, and I'm not the only one who's thinking that. And David Brophy, he's now wormed his way up to 5th in the rankings, and quite arguably, he could go and box for a world title. These rankings are bullshit. People like Fielding have no business being there. I like Rocky, he's a sound lad, but for me, he shouldn't be anywhere near that at the moment. He should be potentially looking at a European title or something like that. And in 12 months' time, then not calling out Truax now. It's a joke.
Well said, Ozzy. Right, let's move on. Just finally, Smith Vargas. Smith joins a band of brothers with ear injuries. Evander Holyfield obviously having his ear chewed off by Mr. Tyson. And I remember Antonio Margarito leaving Sebastian Lujan with quite a badly damaged ear. Go and look up that one on Google Images if you haven't seen it. Right, never mind a fight each. I'm going to have to give you a show each, I think, to get through these previews. I want everybody to have their say on Saunders Lemieux before we finish up. Might have to cut the value of the weeks a little bit short or something. We'll see how we get on. It's 5-10. We mentioned Martin Joseph Ward against Mr. Giner for the European title. Katie Taylor is also on that card against Jessica McCaskill. Josh Kelly takes a little step up. Jake Ball against Miles Shinkwin might be. You think that was for a British title? It's for one of these WBA Intercontinental bullshit things. That should be a decent fight, actually. Ted Cheeseman's on there. Cordina, Yafai, Cash, Conor Benn, and Lawrence Okoli. Diego De La Hoya returns on USA ESPN on Thursday night against Jose Salgado. Decent little step up for De La Hoya, who had a good win in his last fight against an opponent. I cannot remember who it was. Andy, tell me about Alexander Povetkin. Drugs cheat or not, he's getting this fight against Christian Hammer. The WBA are happy to sanction it for their international title, and the WBO are happy to sanction it for their international title. So Mr. Povetkin is clean again, and Hammer should give him a pretty decent fight.
I can't remember if Povetkin had to kind of had to go through certain stringent drug tests and stuff like that out his own pocket, which is only fair. He's definitely a drugs cheat. We all know the Russians are absolutely awash with drug cheating and cover-ups and meldonium and stuff like that. So there's absolutely no dispute. I'm expecting Povetkin. Well, again. Okay, he beat Rudenko there 12 rounds, and that was obviously him, supposedly clean. He wasn't clearly on points and stuff, but Hammer, I've never rated. We all know this, and I know Fury made him quit and stuff, and he's got a 1 round knockout against Sprott, and he's struggled with Terper, and he's then knocked out Price and stuff like that. But he didn't really pay much attention to that. I'm expecting Povetkin here. I'm expecting basically a wide points win minimum. But if he does get the knockout, then so be it. I'm not really all that fussed with him actually, but I'm looking forward to see how Magomed Kurbanov gets on. I think he's quite highly rated in that with WBO as well. I'm expecting him to get a kind of world title shot coming up.
And also on the undercard, Andy, Evgeny Chuprikov, who I mentioned randomly to Donny earlier, is fighting.
Right. Okay. I'm just going through his record. Earlier in the Saturday, actually, I didn't really kind of pick up on anything. I might have seen him yet, but
I just picked him out for badness. But there he is on the list.
No, but the thing is, I've got Kurbanov on my box rec kind of watch list and stuff like. Cause I've seen a couple of his fights and stuff. I just like the way he goes about business and stuff. He's fighting like a veteran Japanese guy who's got 30 knockouts and stuff, but he's quite chinny. But at the same time as well, he's one of these Japanese guys who's kind of fought. He's fought the guys with the kind of average records. 10-8. 22, 16-5 type records and stuff like that. So we just don't know what he's going to come with. But I'm expecting Kurbanov to stop the guy. But not really much else on that Russian card and stuff because, again, I think Chudinov won there yesterday that as well. I think the Russians are really needing to start bringing through some more kind of stars and stuff like that, or kind of get them out in the mainstream, take more chances with them because, Povetkin, Chakayev, Kudryashov. The myths have been slightly kind of, expelled a wee bit and stuff like that. So we're needing some other guys to kind of step up and step through.
Well said, Andy. Next Friday night on USA Fox Sports 1, some decent fights, actually. Diego Chavez fights against Jamal James. John Molina goes in against Ivan Redkach, which should be a decent fight. Wally Amatoso against Freddie Hernandez will be a good fight as well. And Jesse Vargas takes on Aaron Herrera. Going over to Australia on Wednesday night, Aussie. We have Gary Corcoran fighting for the WBO welterweight title. Talk about a pick. This is a nice little payday for Jeff Horn, defending his title that he won against Manny Pacquiao. Fairly, in my opinion, against Mr. Corcoran. A little bit of a gimme. You're going to just give him this one, Ozzy?
You would have to say so, but Corcoran, it's a strange one, really, isn't it? He's gone from a split decision win against Larry Eckendale at the Copper Box to a world title fight in Brisbane at the end of the year. So, I mean, this again just shows the rankings, doesn't it? I think Gary Corcoran would be the first to admit he's not he's not a top 15 welterweight in the world, but stranger things have happened in the sport of boxing. Corcoran's a big guy. No, he wasn't he was a decent size light middle. So I'm surprised he can cut down to welterweight. So he's a big guy. You would like to think Horn has too much for him, but this should have been Horn against Bradley Skeet, and Duco basically rejected Skeet. They claimed he wasn't boring. He was boring to watch, but in my eyes, that's a blatant duck. Skeet would have boxed the shit out of Jeff Horn. And it's a case of, the winner's going to go and box Terence Crawford anyway, so it's the last time there'll be whoever wins, Horn, Corcoran. They're only going to be having it. It's going to be a countdown until they get in the ring with Crawford, because that's light work for Terence. But yeah, it should be a straightforward victory for Horn. But like I said, I wish Gary all the best. He's got an opportunity, similar of sorts to Caleb Truax. So obviously he's a guy from Britain, and I'll happily get behind him against Jeff Horn.
Ozzy's up for that one. Rob, tell me about Spike O'Sullivan's opportunity in Canada on the Lemieux Saunders undercard. He's fighting Antoine Douglas. Douglas was knocked out by Kurt Sidze, Mr. Mafia himself, in 2016. Do you think Spike's got a chance of winning this one and getting the WBO Intercontinental title?
I do.
Yeah, I think Spike can punch, man. You know what I mean? Spike, whatever you say about him, he can definitely punch. We showed that against Santo Fitzgerald. He's maybe falling short.
Nearly got a stool across his head, didn't he?
Yeah, they brought boxing back to Dublin and we start throwing stools in the ring, you know what I mean? But anyway, I think he has a big chance with a punch, but he's vulnerable and he's shown kind of vulnerabilities when he's stepped up the level. So we'll see where he's at. This is probably his best chance of making a dent there. He's going over. He's brave. He'll fight anyone. You know what I mean? He called for the Golovkin fight, but no, fair play to him. I hope he does it. But puncher's chance.
Puncher's chance. Talking of a puncher's chance, Gabe, Andy has alerted me to a couple of fights from the weekend that I forgot about. Luis Ortiz is back. Drugs cheat extraordinaire, knocking out Daniel Martz. I'm not sure what happened up to the point of the stoppage, but it was an impressive finish. Did you see anything of Mr. Ortiz, Gabe?
He looked sloppy. He looked slow. He looked behind the whole time. When he's not on steroids, he's going to get his fucking face beat in by Wilder. He was just consistently slow for a guy that was also slow. And then
he looks slimmer though, Gabe. You think he looks slimmer? I thought he did. There was none of those bitch tits.
What's that?
I thought he looked a lot slimmer.
Yeah, he did. He looked a little bit slimmer. He looked like he had slimmed up considerably compared to the last time out that we saw him. But that'll be a downfall for him. I mean, he looked shit. He got a punch against a guy that was going to go as soon as the first punch landed anyway. And then he proceeded to talk shit to Wilder. And, of course, Wilder carried on. It looked like a complete WWE-style setup. But that fight was garbage. Pascal actually looked like Pascal in this fight. I mean, granted, he didn't look wonderful or tremendous on his way out. But in that fight, it was typical Pascal fight. You know, nothing real clean. A little bit of rough stuff, wrestling. You know, some kind of gaps in the fights and things along those lines. So, I mean, when you watch those fights, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to put those out there as fight of the years. Pascal got wobbled a few times and did the job that you know, a prime Pascal would have probably done much easier. So that card was actually, you know, worth watching, I suppose, on the Friday night it came on. You know, I didn't see too much else on that was worth watching. So, you know, fair play.
Excellent stuff, Gabe. Right, let's move on to the big one next week and then get out of here. I will not be around next week, actually. I can't make it. And you'll have a special guest host jumping into the hot seat. So look forward to that. Smido, I know you can't wait. Tell me about this Billy Joe Saunders against David Lemieux fight. My initial instincts were that Lemieux would be able to bully him a little bit, push him, hit him hard. But I think the more I think about it, Saunders is probably going to lead him a merry dance, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that, you know, the last time someone boxed Lemieux was Golovkin, and he absolutely boxed rings around him. I'm trying not to compare Billy Joe and Gennady, but Billy Joe is certainly gonna go for the boxing route in this fight. He's going into the Lions Den, definitely. Obviously Lemieux's on home soil. He's got a big fan base over there. Is it Montreal? Is it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So obviously it's hometown fight for him. But the most impressive thing Lemieux's done since the Golovkin fight is the Stevens. Curtis Stevens went in and blown him away, to be honest. And you know, in this day and age, we've spoke about Rocky Fielding recently. Comes off a heavy loss, fights pretty much no one, and next thing you know, is ranked number 5. Now but Lemieux's not done it that way. He's gone in against a couple of decent kiddies. You know, rather than just taking it easy and get that ranking back. And we've got to remember is that Lemieux's first defense of an IBF world title fight was Gennady Golovkin. So this kid ain't running from no one. It's an opportunity for Billy Joe on the world scene, one that he certainly needs. Get himself in the picture for either Canelo or Golovkin, or before or after the rematch, whatever it may be. At the start, I remember saying on the pod it was a bit of a sellout, you know, because Frank comes on saying that, you know, he pays to get his fighters home advantage, blah blah blah. But Billy Joe's getting paid a hell of a lot of money for this. Something that Warren probably couldn't have competed with. So I'm not going to hate on him too much for going over there. Yeah, I just think that it will probably go the distance. And I think he'll probably have a couple of scary moments, you know, Billy Joe. If he gets caught with that right hand, then you know, Lemieux can bang. But I think ultimately Billy Joe is a new kind of fighter now, training in Sheffield. And if he's keeping that attitude and fitness and output going from his last fight into this one, which I see no reason why he won't, then I think that Billy Joe will win 4 or 5 rounds on points.
That's the thing, isn't it, Hater Dave, with Lemieux? He is hard to deter, I think, as Saunders got the power to keep him off him, because Lemieux, for all his faults, will keep coming forward and keep banging hard round after round. So Saunders needs to be switched on, Dave.
Well, he didn't come forward and keep banging against Golovkin. But yes, definitely Saunders does need to be switched on. I think he will be. Honestly, I hope he just gets iced, because I'm so tired of talking about him. Like, we've been talking about him for years, and what has he done? Not much in that time. He beat Eubank. I guess that's a win that looks better in hindsight, as Eubank continues to go unbeaten, at least for now. But that's probably his biggest win. Andy Lee got the belt off him, but you know, Andy Lee's, for me, a B-level fighter at best. Yeah, B-level fighter. I like Andy Lee, I kind of wish we were talking about him instead, because he's always great to watch. He's exciting. His fight with Quillen was good. I mean, he's got Billy Joe is usually in a shit fight, and it's going to be hard to be in a shit fight against Lemieux. So I think even if he wins, it's going to be somewhat entertaining, because he's going to have to throw at least early on until he gets Lemieux's respect. He's going to have to throw something, and maybe even wobble him to turn this into a boxing match. But yeah, I mean, this is a good matchup. I pick Saunders, but I want Lemieux.
Any chance of Saunders hurting Lemieux? Maybe walk onto something, Rob, do you think? Who are you going for?
I don't know. It's hard to judge Billy Joe really based off the Monroe performance. He didn't look that great with Monroe, and Monroe couldn't find him. Billy Joe's always been elusive, but he'll need to be switched on, because Lemieux punches like an atomic bull. Big puncher, but that's it pretty much. He's very basic, and I could see Saunders keeping him off balance with the jab, ducking in and out. Beg your pardon, guys. But yeah, he's gonna have to be switched on. I would say Saunders by decision. Sorry about this.
Okay, Rob, no problem. Rob's bringing up a lot of good points and a lot of phlegm tonight. Ozzy, in the build-up, apparently Billy Joe Saunders said in the press conference, Lemieux fought Triple G, so nobody's ducking anybody, apart from maybe you ducking Triple G, you know?
I think Saunders would take the Golovkin fight. They signed for it. They were going to go to Kazakhstan. And that wasn't bullshit. That it's just the fact that Canelo cropped up, and that was obviously a massive super fight. I think from what you've seen on from what you can see on the video, social media, things like that, real good place, real good place. He's in great shape, which has always been a problem. Is he looks fit, strong. He won't be crashing the weight like he's done previously. And we all know the skills he possesses. Now, I see this. I think Bill can make Lemieux look silly in this. I think he's not been disrespectful. He's not slating him at all. He knows that Lemieux possesses a lot of power, but he's openly said that's pretty much it. Now, I think when Lemieux was it Hassan and Dam? Now, did he drop him like 6 times in the fight, 5 times?
Yeah, I think everybody does, don't they?
Yeah, but and Dam caused Lemieux a lot of problems. A lot of problems at times. Just boxing him, keeping it a distance. But then he'd get dropped.
If Van Damme could stay on his feet, he'd be decent, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's obviously a downfall of his. Anyway, I think this could be a huge fight for Saunders. It's on primetime HBO. It's massive for him, and ultimately, I think the winner goes on and boxes Golovkin or Canelo, the winner of that fight. Now, I'll be definitely behind Saunders 100%. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's quality, and his wins against Andy Lee, I thought he was excellent for half, but then he faded again. Now, the way the Ingles are talking, it's like he's a different person now. He's fit. He's eating all the right food. So fingers crossed, Saunders win this. He's a British champion. I know he takes a lot of shit off people because he says a lot of stuff, and he says people with like females with smelly fannies should be executed and stuff like that, and people don't like that. But for me, I think he's a quality boxer, and I think he can go and do the business in Canada.
I think, Gabe, that Saunders is actually slightly underappreciated. For all of the shit talk, he does actually have substance to back it up. He has the skills as well, and I think just getting the motivation, the focus, and getting into shape was his problem. He definitely has ability, and he has names on the record as well. As one of the contributors mentioned, the win against Eubank, he's looking better and better, by the week. Saunders is a decent fighter, Gabe. Let's not make any bones about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's the worst fighter in the world. I think you could certainly pick other people that would be...
Give him some credit, Gabe, will you?
I am. That's credit. I mean, what else do you want me to say?
Come on, Gabe, give him some plaudits.
I don't think that he is a world beater. I mean, there's certainly people out there that are worse. So... was there a question in this?
I'm only messing with you. So who do you think is going to win? Do you think Saunders will be able to keep Lemieux off him for 12 rounds? I think he will be.
I think so. Lemieux is so limited. I mean, yeah, he punches like a mule kicks, but I mean, for Christ's sake, he'll handle the most basic of basic opponents. He won't ever be a guy that when faced with equal or more impressive technical specimen, or someone who's just a little bit more fleet of foot and hand than he is, he's not going to be able to beat him. He just doesn't have the all-around skills to do that. He's going to excel in fights where the guys are right in front of him to be hit. And, so long as you don't have a freak show like Gennady Golovkin in front of him, more power, then you're looking at a good fight. But whenever he's coming up against somebody that's technically a little bit more sound or has a little bit more physical ability, they're going to beat him. So it's not even a question in my mind. I mean, I don't really see any way that Lemieux beats him unless Pepe Le Pew lands something big that he just doesn't see coming, and that's going to be an off chance. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, Andy, final word to you. I was only messing with Gabe there. Not levelling this at him or Dave or Donny, but sometimes I think the American guys do see Saunders as a bit of a soft touch, as a bit of a joke figure, an accident, a knockout waiting to happen. But the point I was making was he has a bit more substance than that. And I actually do, for all his shit talk, rake Saunders. And I think he's better than some of those guys give him credit for.
He's definitely a decent fighter. I mean, there's no way about it. I know his recent kind of performances, so to speak, have been absolutely kind of, especially the Akavov performance is absolutely brutal. But the thing with Saunders is he's a very, very good boxer, and I'm really picking Saunders to win this on points, but I think it's going to be close. I'm going to go for like a majority decision type thing here, because Lemieux, I don't rate his gas tank, and I've never really rated him as a fighter. But one thing he will do is if he gets Saunders on the ropes, he doesn't want to be there because he doesn't want to take too many of those left hooks and right hands and stuff like that. He's going to have to cover up at points and that. He's going to have some pressure he's going to have to deal with at some points as well.
Do you think some of the American judges, Andy, might like what Lemieux's doing, a bit like they liked what Ogawa was doing against Farmer last night?
If exactly, I mean, the Yanks have always kind of scored fights for like the guy who's pressing the fight and who's trying to kind of throw the kind of heavier punches and stuff. But at the end of the day, as well, is if Lemieux can offset him, I mean, obviously as well, Lemieux's up at a southpaw, so what he's going to do is jab and move to his right hand side and that take away the right hand and just do that all night long. I mean, and if he can catch him coming in like he caught Andy Lee with the left hand and drop him, and all the good. I just think Lemieux fights in too many straight lines. This is where I think Saunders' boxing ability and his movement and the fact that he's now in really good shape. So his gas tank should be well up and stuff like that. I know some people will say something else than that because he's running about the Winkleback gym and kind of condition that Brendan Ingle's in at the minute, or what do you call him? No, Brendan Ingle. The laddie. Anyway,
Dominic
Ingle, aye. I don't think it's going to be a fight for the casuals, actually. I don't think the casuals will be watching it and stuff like that, so you can imagine some of the shite will be going out and about there, obviously, between Eddie Hearn asking for a retweet and all that sort of stuff. But, aye, as I say, I suppose Lemieux's got to be respected, but at the same time, I don't think he's, technically he's no great. People remember the reason why I gave Golovkin a wee bit of shit against Lemieux because I expect him to kind of deal with him more emphatically and a lot quicker than what he did. Because I just do not rate Lemieux. But this is a good test. I mean, some people say, well, why is he going to Canada and stuff like that? Why didn't he get the fight over in the UK and stuff? Maybe he's getting really good money to come over here and actually kind of.
It's about $3.5 million, isn't it? They said, as he said the other week, yeah.
There you go. Correct. I mean, $3.5 million or is it dollars or pounds?
Dollars, I think. Well, that's
it's about $2 million.
Yeah, it dwarfs the payday that Saunders has ever had before. And realistically, I think Frank said in an interview that for the purses of this sort, he said if it had gone to a purse bid, we'd have won it because it'd been 80-20 in a mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
But the money they were offering was just unbelievable, and he would need essentially a pay-per-view club format to raise essentially what. £3 million or something like that for the fight alone, then your undercard, it'd be a massive, massive fight. And
Frank be bankrupt, wouldn't he, from that?
Fucking too, right, yeah.
Well, I think that kind of then maybe speaks volumes as well. About Lemieux's side, I think they're really, if they want to pay him big money to come over here and go over to Canada, then they must be confident about winning it.
And they fancy it, Andy. They really fancy it.
Because Lemieux's been doing a lot of shit talking. My son has been quite quiet and stuff. Again, as I say, I just think if Saunders is totally fit, he's done everything correctly, which he seems to have done. I think boxing ability wise will always shine through, but you just don't know as well as that. Again, we're just talking about DEGALE there and stuff like that. Has Saunders left it too late in his career to start taking it seriously? We just don't know. But I'm expecting a few rocky moments. I think Lemieux's some of his movement, his volume punch, especially he's harder and he's aggressive, more aggressive actually than Saunders. And that, so I'm expecting him to kind of make it far tighter on the cards and stuff. Maybe what being Canada, he might lose it, but I'm expecting a wee bit of class with Saunders actually, and I think he might win an ugly, probably a boring majority decision and stuff. I think he'll jab, he'll move, he'll hold when he needs to, he'll make it ugly if he's got to do it and stuff like that. But I'm expecting to win this actually. Again, as I say, I'm just kind of maybe down in Lemieux a wee bit too much and stuff because I've never really rated him. But Saunders, I'm expecting to kind of turn the goods here.
Right, guys, we shall be finishing tonight at 10:30 at the absolute latest. So let's get on with a couple of questions, Bellew of the week. Smido, I'm afraid of losing you because I know sometimes you have to go. So I'm going to hit you with this question from Joey at Master Mode. In your opinion, Smido, in your expert opinion, I would add, from what you may have heard, what do you think will be the outcome of Tyson Fury's hearing this week? I hope we can get the big man back in the ring. What do you think is going to happen to Tyson, Smid?
Oh, Steve, we could do an hour on this.
You've got 30 seconds.
Right, well, I was of the opinion that they both effectively served drug bans, to be honest. But I think the tide seems to be swaying a little bit towards them being innocent. I just don't believe they are. What you've got to think is the British Boxing Board of Control, for all their wrongs. I mean, we criticise all sport governing bodies. I criticise the racing one all the time. We criticise the FA. But at the end of the day, they have got to uphold the reputation of the sport in this country from top to bottom. would they have dug in this deep for 2 years if they was really dealing with an innocent man? Would it? Do we really think they've got it in them to build up this massive conspiracy which has cost Tyson Fury millions of pounds in earning, 3 title belts or whatever he had, reputation? I mean, almost his life in terms of, he's been to some dark places, Tyson, in the last couple of years. I don't know. I just can't see that. I can't see that the border control would have dug in so much about that. There's got to be something that's amiss at some point, drug related. I also think that Fury, it looks like he's fell out with, well, he certainly distanced himself from family members that he's previously trained and worked alongside with. Don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Will we ever know the full story? Probably not. We've heard very little from the British Boxing Border Control away from official statements. We've had leaks of information from inside Fury's camp, from outside Fury's camp. Fury's talked more openly about it in the last 2 or 3 months, but it was all quiet before then. I just think that the Border Control are sitting on at least something that makes them confident to have gone this far down the line. I mean, they could have said, when it started getting messy, I don't know, a year ago, they could have said, right, okay, you've had a year off, we'll count that as your ban, get back to work. But they haven't. They've actually dug in and they go into court. And I think there's definitely something amiss. Will we ever know the full story? Probably not. It's all become a bit of a mess. I want to, like many others, want Tyson Fury back in. He's great entertainment. He's achieved something absolutely fantastic in Germany a couple of years ago. And he could be involved in all sorts of good fights, from Bellew, Joshua, Wilder, Parker. We need him back, and he's lost the prime of his career. We're going to find out whose fault that was.
Excellent stuff, Smido. That was 35 seconds, though, but thanks anyway. Right, Rob, a question for you from Danny Young. With Salido losing last night, does that mean that Lomachenko's chance to avenge his defeat is now off the cards? And will that mean a rematch with Rigondeaux is the best option? Not sure about a rematch between Lomachenko and Rigondeaux, Rob, but the Salido avengement, I mean, that is not, it's not going to happen, is it?
It's gone. They all started laughing. It was announced. One of the reporters said to him, "Who's next, Salido?" And everyone went, ha 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 ha. Salido got knocked out. So no, I wouldn't want to see that now. He could do Salido some damage right now. No, Salido wouldn't be able to touch him now. Low blows or not.
He was tired last night at the end of the card.
Yeah,
he said,
anyway, yeah. But I wouldn't want to see. I wouldn't want to see. I said last week I didn't want to see it because Lomachenko's too far ahead of him and he really hurt him right now. So Salido's doing the right thing, retiring. He doesn't really owe the sport anything at this stage. He's left his mark, and that's it for him.
Excellent stuff, Rob. Final 2 questions. Hey to Dave Lowback, one to you from Liam Wynn. On the back of the Lomachenko-Rigo fight taking place at the Mecca of boxing, rank the top 5 fighting venues. What are the top 5 fighting venues in boxing at the moment for you, Dave? Maybe Eric Springs' home in Pennsylvania?
I mean, I don't think I've been to enough to rate the top 5, because I've probably been to about 7 or 8 total. So I'll just say some ones that I liked, some that I didn't like so much. Quite like Barclays Center. Really nice. Easy to get in, easy to get out. Brand new, clean. I've had great seats every time I was there. MGM Grand, the seats were shit, to be fair, but also it took forever to get out. I'm not a big fan of MGM Grand. Went to a venue, Roseland Ballroom in New York. That was good. Boxers walking around. It was a much more casual atmosphere. I went there for a card way back in like 2011. Cotto was walking around. Kendall Holt shook his hand. It was very sort of mingling atmosphere ringside. So I like that. And then there's the one in Reading, which I went to twice last year, which was decent, but I mean they can't fill it. Met a couple cool people there too. Had good seats, but for my money, the best one I've been to is Barclays Center.
I haven't been to all of these, but I've been to some of them. I'll throw them out. StubHub, Gabe says O2, Madison Square Garden, the Barclays, I've been there. MGM, I've been there. Mandalay Bay, Caesars Palace. A couple of my favourites. I know the National Stadium in Dublin gets a bad rap, but I actually think it's a good one. Ulster Hall as well. And I hear that the York Hall is one of the famous old venues where there's not a bad seat. I haven't been to that one, so I shall take your word for it. Final question to you, Andy. You got about a minute on this one. See how you can do. From Richard Swig. Richard says, I'm delighted to see my favourite fighter, Eric Morales, going into the Hall of Fame this year. Which are your favourite Morales performances, and how do you think that a much vaunted fight with Prince Nazim Hamed would have gone? So how do you think Morales-Hamed would have gone, Andy? And what are your favourite Morales moments? I think the first Pacquiao fight has to be right up there for me.
It's right up there, mate. Probably the Barrera fights are definitely going to be in there. I'm trying to remember. Can you remember who was the fighter that he knocked out again? And he's standing over the top of him, posing for pictures, like flexing his muscles. And I keep forgetting this fucking guy's name.
I can't remember that one.
Kevin Keeley
was it Junior Jones?
Junior Jones was that? Inch and Chi was a decent fight.
I remember that. I didn't like. I turned on him a little bit after that.
Who was it? Do you remember? Was it someone who fought his brother or something like that? Or I can't
remember the guy's name, but I just thought, Jesus, like you just beat him to death, like, and then you're like.
Aye. But no, I suppose one thing actually, you know, in my opinion, with the beat Naz, and that's just my personal opinion, because probably one of my most favourite fights of him as well, coming back in 2012 against Danny Garcia, that first fight, you know, he's got this grotesque swelling in his eye in the first round, and what does he do? Okay, he loses the point, he loses the fight wide in points and that, but at the same time, you got to hand it to him. I mean, the gutty bastard hung it out there for like 11 rounds with one eye and still managed to make a fight of it and stuff. Okay, he got brutalised in the rematch and stuff, but there's a lot. No, I'm thinking about Maidana. Sorry, what am I talking about? The Maidana fight.
Maidana, yeah.
The Maidana fight. That's what I'm talking about.
That was great, but he also did quite well in the first Garcia fight too.
He did. It was a Maidana fight. I'm mainly talking about with that grotesque swelling of the eye and stuff, and he's you know, really pushing it in that. And he almost pulled a draw out the cards there. I remember I was still doing a bit of training myself when he fought Willie Lemon and that. You know, Willie went over there, and Willie was a sparring partner of his. That after that fight, it became quite pally and that. So big chance for Willie as well. But the fight was at severe altitude. And that, so he was hiding at nothing as well. Big shock against Zahir Rahim. Remember that guy? After he beat Pacquiao the first time and stuff.
Yeah, Zahir Rahim. There's one from the past. He completely gave Morales the runaround, didn't he?
He did, and they really did think that was going to fuck up any chance of a rematch with Pacquiao, and then Pacquiao knocks him out in 10 rounds in the rematch and stuff. But I'll keep it short there, mate. And I thought he would have beat Naz, because at the end of the day, it was all about fundamentals. Once Naz stepped up to like proper world elite level stuff, like guys like Barrera, Morales. You know, I just think it would have been different gravy altogether.
Yeah, good fight with Injin Chi as well. Top fighter was Eric Morales back in the day. He would have never ducked anybody. Let's get on with Bellew of the week and get out of here. We've got about 5 minutes, quite a few. Bellew, Paco Ali has nominated a few people talking about Vijender Singh, Mohit Dhawan, Deepak and Ayush Sharma are all talking a lot of shite, talking about Vijender being a heavyweight champion and what have you. Casual Central there. Stephen Wright has been nominated for talking about Dave Allen. Dave Allen wants another crack at Luis Ortiz, apparently. Okay, I wouldn't have thought so. Todd has been nominated. He's talking about pay-per-view fights and saying that nobody has heard of Inoue. All right, then, Todd. Who's nominating this one? Not quite sure, but it's for O'Hara Davis for talking on the Ringside podcast. Most people that know me, says O'Hara, say I'm down to earth. The boxing fans that don't know me say I'm not. I just don't know why. Why always you, O'Hara? Why always you? Jack Morgan has nominated Boxing Mad. Can't wait. I'm so excited for this fight between David Haye and Tony Bellew, says Boxing Mad. This is going to go down in history as one of the best boxing bouts ever. Well done to you, Eddie Hearn. Nick Parkinson, I think it is, on Box Nation has been nominated for saying that Lucas Brown turned down a fight with Anthony Yarde. Not that I'm aware of that. I think he must have got a little bit mixed up there. Apollo Elite has been praising Eddie Hearn in Matchroom, so Niall O'Connor has nominated him. Daniel Bagley has been nominated from Ghoul Artista, talking about various boxing-related issues. Turbo Jackson is nominating Bunce for having Dirt Gale up by 1 round. Bunce had a bit of a nightmare last night, I think. Not his finest moment. He was still going through till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning as well with the Rigo Lomachenko card. Boxing Guru has put up something about James DeGale. Joey has nominated DeGale for talking about George Groves. How the hell is he number 1, says DeGale. Well, it's certainly not you now. Galaxy Slice, that's Mr. Shep. Lots of good bets for Shep coming up last night. He always seems to get the bets right. Whatever happened, he's on the ball there. Paco, Shep is having a go at James DeGale and Steve Bunce. So Steve Bunce has been nominated again. Michael Gearty has nominated BBC Sport for saying that DeGale suffered the shock first defeat of his career. Sean Stevenson has nominated Ross Webster. Ross Webster is advising everybody about boxing. He says, just listen to Dave Caldwell to get educated on boxing. Then add in a bit of Spencer Fearon and you're just about there. Yeah, okay then. Thanks very much for that. Benjamin has also been nominated. There's no way DeGale can lose this fight, he said, in about the 10th round, as long as he stays on his feet. Well, he just about stayed on his feet, but he managed to lose. Getting to the end of them here, Edit Master is talking about the Rigo Loma fight. He says, dude, don't be ridiculous. The only clear round that was won in that fight was the first round, and Rigo won it. You didn't even win a round convincingly, Lomachenko. You missed virtually everything, but a few pity-pat shots on the back of the head. What victory are you claiming by looking at the film of that fight? Don't quite know what he was watching. Tyson Fury and Tony Bellew have had a bit of beef. Fury says, I've had enough of your nonsense, you shitbag. You won't fight Anthony Joshua as you're scared, but if Hay beats you, he will, so what's that to say? And Tony Bellew responded by saying, he's a fantasist and I'm a realist. That's what it says to me. As for you, on the other hand, Tyson, I believe I can beat you. I 100% know I can hit harder than you. I'm quicker than you. The only question for me is, how much can you take? And Willie has nominated him. Any other nominations, gentlemen?
I've only got the one, mate, Max Kellerman, for basically kind of like Miko Roman landed a monster at a hook there last night, and Max is like, that's all right. Then Salido comes back with a jab. Max is like, this reminds me of Carmen Basilio and Dick Tiger. I'm like, what? So that's the only one that I've got.
He's as bad as Fearon, isn't he?
Oh, well, he had Fearon as well for picking Rigo. And who else? Who was the other black person he picked? DeGale.
I don't know.
DeGale probably, but talk about the worst type of racist and that. I mean, he must be an absolute self-loathing fucking black man, by the way.
He must be trolling Andy though. He does it on purpose now, surely.
But, so he goes on the Sky Sports podcast and is allowed to troll about race. I pick all the black fighters and stuff. And he talks about like Charlie Burley and that, like he fucking knows him back to front. The cunt knows nothing about boxing. I pulled him up one day about a WBA situation, stuff like that, and he's trying to argue the fucking facts, mate. You were fucking wrong or I replace you, a fucking prick. Who else?
I'm not a fan of Fearon either, but it's not the race thing. I just think he's a complete and utter charlatan. But I'm not getting involved. Go ahead, Andy.
I was just going to put Lomachenko in for that. No Maschenko. That was really funny, actually. That was really up there. I really loved that. That was just, if he threw that up on his own accord, that's just pure banter. Well done, mate. And he's picking up the English pretty well as well. He's getting a lot better at it. So
he must have done, unless he was expecting. He was probably going to say that whoever the next person to quit was, wasn't he?
Yeah, no Maschenko. That's 4 in a row.
Right. Any other nominations, guys? It's 10:29. It's 10:29. No, I don't think there is. Right. I'm going for. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
I was just pissed off this weekend because of the big fight this weekend. But I did find a little bit of humor in Jack Kelly at Jack O'Kelly 94. James DeGale gone from fighting at Wembley and a sold-out O2 when he wasn't world champion to a half-full copper box when he's on his 4th defense of the title. Little crying, laughing emoji at Eddie Hearn, just begging for attention from Eddie Hearn. Clearly a matchroom nut hugger. Everything he tweeted yesterday was pretty much abysmal, begging for retweets. Check him out if you'd like to see some cringe. But I'm going to go for VASYL Lomachenko. Not in a negative way either. I think I agree. That was some good banter there.
Fair enough. So that's for VASYL. I'm going for Ross Webster, who said to listen to a bit of Dave Caldwell and a bit of Spencer to get educated on boxing. Andy, who are you going for this week?
I'm going for Lomachenko. No Maschenko.
Gabe, what about you? You've took a heavy beating this weekend with your man Rigo being defeated. Who's Bellew of the week? Gabe?
Sorry, I was muted. I would probably go for myself if I would have thought to nominate myself, but Lomachenko.
Ozzy?
The guy you mentioned about listening to Fearon and Caldwell, but an honorary shout for the geezer who mentioned about DeGale in the O2, and I happily pointed him out, saying that the last time DeGale boxed at the O2 was on a Frank Warren show.
Fair enough. You always find them, don't you? Rob, a final word to you.
Yeah, team no mass, man. Bad weekend.
No Maschenko. He's made the great man quit, but he's walked away with not only his title, but also the Bellew of the Week. Congratulations to Mr. VASYL Lomachenko. Thank you, everybody who's been on the call tonight. Rob Kelly, Ozzy Smith, Gabe, Andy Patterson, Dave Hater Lobach, Adam Smith was with us as well, and Donny Baseball. I've been Steve Wellings. Thank you for listening. We shall catch you all. Well, I won't catch you next week. I probably won't be speaking to you till after Christmas now, to be honest with you. We usually come back in the middle of January, don't we, Andy?
Aye, but I think we might just wait until we come back on the Monday. We can do the podcast next Monday rather than Sunday, yeah?
Oh, well, yeah.
Who's hosting next weekend?
It's a surprise double act, Andy. I don't want to reveal it just in case, just give it away and people don't listen in.
No, right, because I've not got a clue who it is.
It might end up as you if you're not careful.
Oh, fuck's sake. Right, I'm off scale. I'm running away. Fuck it.
Right, guys, thanks for listening. We'll catch you all next week. Bye.
See you.